What's up, everyone? How are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Deku story. What if Deku solo leveling? If you enjoy, then please like, share, and do comments. A boy with green hair stared blankly at the bright yellow sky. His body was covered in dirt, dust, and bruises. His name is Izuku Yagi, the son of Tashinori Yagi, All Might's #1 hero, and his mother Inko Yagi, who is just an ordinary civilian. The two met by accident when they fell in love with each other and eventually got married. He also has a twin sister named Izumi Yagi. Izuku inherited his mother's green hair and his father's blue eyes, while Izumi inherited her father's blonde hair and her mother's green eyes. Izuku was lying on the ground after being beaten up by his dear little sister and her friends. His body was covered in bruises from the bullies who beat him. He never wanted to be treated like this, but it all started 2 years ago when he was 4 years old. Flashback. Your son has no quirk. Everyone in the room was silent, his parents and sister. They were shocked by the words of the doctor who examined him. But how is that possible? The doctor showed them an X-ray of his leg, and then he started to explain. Please look at this. He has 2 joints in his legs, which means he doesn't have any quirks. But the good news is your daughter has a quirk called telekinesis, which allows her to move things around her at will. If she trains it well, she can become the hero he wants to be. I congratulate you both. End of flashback. Things started to change from then on. His parents started ignoring him, and his sister and friends started bullying him too. They didn't care if he was smart or talented. They didn't think he was valuable enough when he was just quirkless. Izuku wasn't sure about this sudden change. He was just confused about whether to be sad or angry with the current situation. Izuku stood up and cleaned the dust and dirt on his clothes. He took a deep breath and started walking home before the day got dark. He honestly didn't want to go home, but he had no other choice. What can a 6-year-old boy who doesn't have a quirk do in this crazy society when he doesn't even have the power to protect himself? He arrived home and saw his parents and sister having dinner with a warm conversation going on between them. They didn't bother to see him come home late. Izuku walked straight to her room and closed the door without making a sound. He didn't want to disturb their harmonious family. Izuku then took cotton, bandages, and antiseptic to treat his wounds. After he finished, he turned on his computer to see what was going on outside. He started browsing several news sites. Most of the stories are about the activities of the heroes. Some are about the heroes making their debut, and some are about the actions of the heroes stopping the attacks of the villains. Since childhood Izuku is an intelligent and mature child, he likes to watch and analyze things. Sometimes he also watches some videos of heroes on the internet and starts analyzing their quirks and fighting ways. Be it the way they work, the strengths or weaknesses of their quirks. He also recorded all the results of his analysis in his notebook, which he hid under his bed. It's just one of his ways to pass the time and overcome his loneliness. You could say it's his hobby. Izuku, who was too immersed in his work, didn't notice that time had passed. He looked at the clock showing 11 o'clock. Looks like I missed dinner this time too. Izuku talked to himself and then turned off his computer. He then went to his bed, lying there while staring at the dark ceiling. Sometimes he wonders why he has to go through all this. It wasn't his fault that he didn't have a quirk, but everyone else rejected him. In this society where 80% of civilians have a quirk, is there still a place for him? He then closed his eyes and then fell asleep. He could only see darkness, but somehow he felt that there was something there. In the darkness, Izuku saw a pair of blue lights that resembled eyes. The light then grew beyond his field of vision. He began to see what kind of creature was behind those shining eyes. More than 10,000 black soldiers bowed to him. Not only knights, but also monsters, elves, giants, and other creatures commonly seen in comics, movies, or games. In front of them all stood 2 figures, one a robed knight with a red mane adorning his helmet, and the other a very tall knight with 4 wings attached to his back and a giant sword hanging on his waist. Izuku stared at them. They all bowed their heads toward him, as if they were paying their respects to their king. The knight with 4 wings took out his sword and offered it to him. The moment he touched the sword, a light suddenly shot out and brought him back to reality. Izuku woke up sweating with his heart racing. He took a deep breath. He could see a ray of light peeking through the curtains of his room. Is it morning already? He looked at the clock on his desk. It was still 5 in the morning. It's still too early to go to school. He then stood up and went to the bathroom to wash his face. Izuku looked at her reflection reflected in the mirror. A 6-year-old boy with disheveled hair and a dark expression unsuitable for his age. He then rubbed his face with a towel to remove the water from his face. It must be a bad dream. He was also not sure if this was called a nightmare or not, but somehow he felt a strange connection with the black soldier. It seemed he had known them for a very long time, and he had a long history with them. Izuku felt that it didn't make sense, then brushed the thought away and then hurriedly took a shower. After taking a shower, he then took his bag and immediately left the house. As usual, he tried his best not to make a sound, as his parents always said. Remain silent. He was walking around the apartment complex where he lived and decided to stop by the store to buy some food. Even though he hadn't eaten anything since last night, he wasn't starving, maybe because he was used to being ignored. After picking up some food and paying for it, he walked to Dagoba Beach. Even though this place is full of trash, it still has a nice sunrise view. It's quite peaceful here with the sound of the waves and the chirping of birds. It's not bad to have a little peace in this tiring life. Sometimes you need a break just to relieve stress. Excessive stress is not good for your health. Izuku learned that from his so-called friend, whom he was also unsure of, Bakugo Katsuki. That boy exploded easily from the slightest thing that bothered him, especially when it came to Izuku. At first, Izuku thought it was because of his quirk, but it was thanks to his high pride and stubborn nature. He didn't accept anyone being above him. Even though they were friends since childhood, Katsuki only looked at Izumi and always thought that Izuku was an eyesore. Izuku didn't mind this too much. He already knows that Katsuki likes his sister, so it's only natural that you don't want to have someone around someone you like. The sun was already high enough. It was time to go to school. Izuku packed his things, then went to school. On the way to school, he saw several children his age going to school with his friends or parents. Izuku sometimes envies that. He didn't have someone he could call a friend or someone he could call family. Everyone around him ignored him just because he was different. It was like a curse that haunted him all his life. He immediately shook his head, brushed off that thought, and continued walking his way to school. The moment he arrived at the school, he was greeted by an explosion right in front of the classroom door. Izuku fell to the floor from the explosion. He then looked up to see Katsuki and his friends already waiting for him, as well as his sister. "Hey, Deku, I see you still have the face to come here. I thought you ran away crying like useless trash." Everyone watching started laughing at him, but he ignored it and went to his seat. Katsuki was getting annoyed at being ignored. He then grabbed Izuku by the collar and threw him to the back of the class. "What do you mean by that, ignoring me in front of the class? Do you think you are better than me, you useless bastard?" Izuku was silent. He was tired of just answering those useless questions. He then looked at his sister, who was just laughing with her hands covering her mouth. Izuku just took a deep breath as he saw this, which irritated Katsuki even more. Katsuki was about to throw a punch at Izuku, but he was saved by the ringing bell. Katsuki glared at him and started pointing his finger at him. "Wait until school is over. I'll make sure to teach you right." While he was saying that, the teacher entered the classroom. He then stood up and sat on his chair, as did the other students. Nothing else happened during school hours. Everything went as normally as it should, even at lunch. Izuku tries his best to avoid his sister Katsuki and his gang. He was always on the roof just to avoid these people. It was peaceful enough, but it only lasted until school was over. The bell rang, signaling the end of school. Izuku was packing his stuff and getting ready to go home when Katsuki and his sister started dragging him into an alley near the school. Katsuki slammed him against the wall while Izumi held him in the air using her quirk. Katsuki started throwing explosions at him, and they both started laughing at him. "Too bad, brother. A quirkless like you is trying to be a hero. You better give up on that dream. You will never be a hero without a quirk." Izumi then knocked him to the ground so Katsuki could kick him in the stomach. Izuku groaned as he clutched his stomach while the two of them just laughed at him and left him alone. Izuku was angry about what they had done to him. No, he was angry with himself for being useless and unable to do anything. He slammed his hands on the ground in anger. "Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! It's always like this. Why? Why always me? If only there was a way to gain strength, then I." As he said that, a blue portal suddenly appeared in front of him. Izuku was stunned for a few seconds. When he was about to run, it was too late. The portal sucked him in, and he couldn't do anything about it. Inside the portal, Izuku was sitting on the ground, confused by what had just happened. He looked around and saw that he was inside some kind of cave. He stood up, dusting his clothes. He then looked around trying to find the entrance, but he couldn't find it. The portal that sucked it in was gone. Suddenly, he heard a voice coming from inside the cave. A group of little green creatures rushed towards him. The creature had pointed ears with an ugly face. They carried knives in their hands. The creature ran towards him. Seeing this, Izuku started running to avoid it. But unfortunately, there were bruises all over his body, and he was exhausted from being beaten earlier. He then tripped and fell to the ground. The green creatures started to surround him. They started laughing because they found such amusing prey. Izuku was afraid that he would die here, but he refused to let it happen. With his remaining determination and strength, he pumped his adrenaline, picked up a nearby rock, and started attacking the creature. Areg. He shouted his determination to attack the green creature. He hit the creature once, but it wasn't enough. He kept hitting the creature's head with the rock in his hand. His hands were drenched in the green blood of the creature. Izuku wasted no time and immediately took the creature's sword and used it to attack the remaining green creatures. Seeing their comrade being brutally killed, the green creature began to tremble in fear and immediately fled. Izuku looked around, then his eyes turned to look at the creature he had just killed. A body covered in green blood with a crushed head, corpses full of cuts, and several limbs scattered on the floor. Izuku couldn't bear to see this scene and immediately threw up all the contents of his stomach. It was the first time he had seen this kind of scene. It was natural for you to throw up in this kind of situation. Izuku lay on the floor resting, trying to process the situation she had been in. First, he was beaten as usual, then a portal suddenly appeared out of nowhere, bringing him here, then a strange green creature suddenly appeared and tried to kill him. What the hell is happening? Izuku stood up, picking up the knife from before. He thought it was over, but it wasn't. The green creatures came back with more of them. I didn't think it would end so quickly. There were 12 of them. Izuku gripped his knife, preparing to attack. He rushed at the green creature and directly launched an attack. Even though his movements were still clumsy and sloppy, he managed to kill them all somehow. This was Izuku's first time wielding a weapon, and he never dreamed he would use it to kill like now. He kept walking in the cave looking for a way out. He had met some green creatures several times on his way until he finally arrived at a giant door. He looked around to make sure there was no green creature nearby. Izuku then turned his gaze back to the door in front of him. He tries to put his hand on the door. The door suddenly opened by itself. The moment Izuku entered, the torches in the room suddenly lit up with blue flames. Inside, there are many statues, each holding a different weapon and some holding instruments. The statue looks old and covered in moss. In the center of the room was an altar with symbols he couldn't understand. Izuku then looked back. All the statues were the same size, except for the one sitting on the throne, which was much bigger than the others. But among the statues, only one caught his eye. The corner statue holds some sort of bespoke plaque. First, worship God. Second, praise God. Third, prove your faith. Those who don't follow this order will never come back alive. When he finished reading it, he heard a sound from the door shut tightly, trapping him inside. Izuku then rolled his eyes at the largest statue and saw its eyes shining at him. The light formed in the eyes of the statue on the throne, and the statue shot a strong beam of light toward him. Izuku immediately ducked down to avoid it. He looked back, seeing that the trail of light rays had left quite a deep mark on the ground. Ha ha ha, I will surely die if I get hit by that. Izuku laughed in horror at that. He turned his attention back to the statue in front of him. His face turned into a smirk. The statue suddenly stood up and tried to step on him. Izuku managed to dodge somehow, but it didn't end there. The other statue started to move and tried to attack Izuku. Damn it, how can I get out of this? He suddenly remembered the order plaque that the angel statue was holding. Izuku started memorizing the contents of the plaque. He started to think what the meaning behind those sentences was. Come on, think. Is that all you got? He then looked around, trying to analyze the situation like he used to. He then realized that only the statue holding the weapon was moving, while the statue holding the instrument remained in place. Izuku rushed towards the statue holding the harp while dodging attacks from other statues. He managed to reach the statue, and the statue began to play the harp, emitting hymn notes to God. The statues stopped moving as soon as the song played. The ground suddenly trembles and an altar appeared in the center of the space. Izuku thought the last sentence proved your faith. In some of the books that he reads, there are several ways of worshiping God, such as prayers, hymns, and finally sacrifices. Izuku stood up and walked towards the altar, orange flames burning around the inside of the altar and blue flames outside. The statues started moving again, walking towards the altar. As the statue approached him, the blue flames began to fade one by one. Are you telling me to hold on until time runs out? Then bring it on. Izuku clenched the knife he picked up, ready to survive till the end. Even with all the willpower remaining, it wouldn't be enough. He already knew this, he couldn't do anything in front of power, but still he refused to give up. He tried his best to dodge the statue's attack, but one of the attacks managed to cut his right leg. Izuku leaned back, panting on the altar. Only up here, huh? Izuku thought that this was the end of his struggle. He was ready to accept his death, but his determination was still not dead. There was still a will to live in his eyes. One of the statues stabbed him in the chest with a spear and dropped him right on the altar. The altar turned red with blood. Izuku was out of breath due to his torn left shoulder. With the shadow of death looming over him, he prepared to die. But still, he did not accept an ending like this. He was scared, he refused to die, tears running down his face. I don't want to die, I don't want to die, don't want to die. If there is another chance. As one of the statues was about to attack him, the last blue flame went out. At the same time, time stopped and a message appears in front of him. You have completed all the requirements of the secret mission, Weak Courage. What's this secret quest? Where is this message coming from? You have earned the right to become a player. Will you accept? Earned, accept, what happened? Izuku stared blankly at the message until the next message made sense. You don't have much time left. If you refuse, your heart will stop about 0. 2 seconds later, will you accept, reject? What if it's a second chance mean I don't have to die, in that case? I'll take it. Izuku opened his eyes. He stared at the white ceiling. The pungent smell of disinfectant was his smell. He could feel the sensation of the bed underneath. Izuku immediately recognized where he was. Hospital. He immediately examined his left shoulder and right leg, which had been severed for a moment before his consciousness disappeared. Still there, legs and shoulders intact. Not only that, but his old wounds also healed. Am I dreaming? Izuku was trying to remember what happened before he passed out, when suddenly the door to his room opened. A nurse walked into the room to check on his condition. Oh, are you awake? Izuku stared at a nurse, her mind still processing what was going on. By the way, how long have I been unconscious? It's been a week since you got here. A week? Yes, that's right. That's right. There is someone who wants to see you. See me, but who? He felt strange among the people he knew. He was sure that no one wanted to see him. They didn't even care even if he was sick. May I know who it is? I don't know. All I know is they brought you here. Wait a minute, I'll call them. After the nurse went out, 2 men in suits walked into the room. Are you awake? Izuku nodded in response. The 2 men approached the bed. Izuku had never seen the faces of the 2 of them before. Is it the mister who brought me here? That's right, you must be confused by what happened. Izuku tilted his head in confusion. Indeed, he had several questions raging in his head. But before that, let me introduce myself. Nice to meet you. My name is Sugimoto Rigi, the head of the Supervision Division of the Hunter Bureau. Hunter Bureau? Yes, first let me explain your situation first. Sugimoto started to explain about the Hunter, Mana, Gate, and Awakening. A heart of a mysterious portal appeared 10 years ago. The portal, which became known as the Gate, connects this world with other worlds. Inside the Gate is a dungeon filled with ferocious monsters. The appearance of this gate is followed by people who experience awakening. People who experience this awakening are called hunters. The person who receives awakening has an energy called mana in his body. This mana helps hunters produce attacks that can defeat monsters from within the dungeon. Mana is widespread throughout the area since the appearance of the gate, but only those who have access to mana can feel it. I have a question. If they appeared during that time, then why has no one ever known about it? That's because his whereabouts are very tightly regulated and very secretive. Besides that, gates usually appear in places where no one is around. After all, only the awakened ones can enter the gate, but recently the number of gates has begun to increase and has begun to appear around residential areas. I'm sorry, even though you're just a kid, but you have to go through all that. Izuku was silent, trying to assimilate the information he got. He was still trying to connect the hunter, the gate, the awakening, and the mana. So the reason you want to see me is related to this gate, isn't it? Yes, that's right, since we found you inside the dungeon. We want to ask what happened while inside and how you could have ended up there. Izuku then began his explanation. starting from how he was dragged into the alley, how he survived the attack of the green creatures, and how he ended up in a room full of statues, barely survived, and then woke up here. So you found a double dungeon, that's a rare case. I'm sorry, it must be difficult for you. We indeed found the double dungeon, but we didn't see the statue you mentioned before. We just found you lying unconscious on the altar. What? That's impossible. Sorry, but that's all we found. Izuku wanted to deny it, but he didn't have any solid evidence to prove his argument, and he was the only witness to this incident. By the way, we also want to do some tests on you. We believe that you have received an awakening since you were able to enter the dungeon. Sugimoto took out a device that looked like a detector and handed it to Izuku. This is a mana detector. Please put your hand on this mana crystal. Izuku followed Sugimoto's instructions and then put his hands on the crystal. Numbers began to appear on the detector, and the results came out not long after. Sugimoto looked at the results. It showed 10. He sighed at the results. Even the weakest hunter had 70. How did it go? With you confirmed to have received a resurrection, we would like to ask if you would be willing to join us as hunters to protect this country from monsters. Of course, there will be a decent payment, but to avoid excessive attention, you should come to our facility as one of our agents. Of course, you can refuse, but you have to promise to keep it secret to avoid panicking the citizens. The public is now quite wary of villains. If the fact that there is a monster appears, we can't imagine the commotion it will cause, so please understand. Izuku was silent for a moment, trying to think about how he would make up his mind. Can I have more time to think? Sugimoto smiled and then stood up from his seat. He then handed over his business card. Of course, this hospital belongs to our facility, so take your time during your recovery, and please contact me again once you've made up your mind. Then please excuse us. Izuku nodded as they left his room. The door closed as he lay on his bed. He stared at the ceiling, precisely at the screen floating in front of him. You have an unread message. I wonder if they saw this message, but based on previous conversations, they didn't seem to be aware of it. The screen that appeared in front of him looked like a game interface. Izuku has played several games, so he recognized what was in front of him. How to open it. He tried to touch it, but his hand pierced it. He tilted his head, trying to figure out the screen in front of him. Is it open with voice? Open the message. Ring tilde. As he said that, an electronic beep followed the opening of the message box. Message. Congratulations, you are now a player. Daily quest, preparing to become a strong. Oh, it works. Open. Ring tilde. The system will help players develop. Failure to comply with system commands may result in penalties. You have received the reward. What about the others? Open. Ring tilde. Daily quest, preparing to be strong. 100 push-ups. Incomplete, 0, 100. 100 sit-ups. Incomplete, 0, 100. 100 squats. Incomplete, 0, 100. 10-kilometer run. Incomplete, 0, 10. Warning, failing to complete the daily quest will result in a penalty quest. Izuku stared at the message. A daily quest on top of that preparation to be strong. What is this? Some kind of training program? He expected more than just the simple exercises he was used to. At the very least, it is certain that if he finishes his training in the quest, his body may improve a little. Izuku decided to ignore it. He was already quite tired of everything that happened recently. He closed his eyes, choosing to sleep to rest his overworked brain. Time passed while he was asleep. The clock finally pointed to 11:59:57, and while pointing to 12:00:00, a message appeared in front of him. Ring tilde. You failed to complete the daily quest. You will be moved to the penalty zone for the specified duration. Izuku woke up as he began to feel the ground tremble. Earthquake. He jumped up and grabbed the bed frame at the foot of the bed. The vibration was so strong that he found it difficult to resist it. Vibrate. But as every second passed, the vibration was getting worse and worse. Suddenly, the bed frame he was holding disappeared from his hand. He could feel the sand in his hand. Sand. Izuku raised his head, seeing that he found himself in the middle of a vast desert. He stood up and looked around while patting the sand off his clothes. In every direction, he saw an endless expanse of sand stretching to the horizon. A desert. He felt a tremor in the sand from behind. He looked back to see a mound of earth appearing behind him. He narrowed his eyes. He knew something was wrong. The sand covering the mound flowed down, revealing a giant centipede hiding behind it. The fully revealed shape of the monster, its size is higher than a 5-story building. What's more, there are quite a few of them. Izuku froze. It was a very large centipede. He had never heard of or seen a centipede this big before. But it wasn't only the size of the centipede that surprised him. The red name floated above his head, as well as a message in front of him. Poisonous-toothed giant sand centipede. Ring tilde. Penalty quest, survive. Goal, survive for the required time. Time took 4 hours. Remaining time, 4 hours 0 minutes seconds. Timers on messages begin to decrease. The centipede began to chase him. He struggled to avoid the centipede. He continued to run across the desert with his life depended on it. Exactly 4 hours later, he reappeared in his room. He was lying there out of breath. The inside of his mouth was dry, his eyes sore with sand. Izuku was lying on the ground, groaning. He didn't have the strength to even move a finger. What the hell was that? A message appeared in front of him again. You have completed the penalty search. Message. The reward for completing the penalty quest has arrived. Do you want to verify? YT. Izuku could only stare at the message before finally fainting from exhaustion. Soon, a nurse walked into his room. She looked at Izuku lying on the floor unconscious. She immediately called the others to help him. It has been a few days since Izuku woke up. He had already started his training as the system ordered. Even now, he is running around the hospital where he stays. There are a few things Izuku has learned about the system. First of all, this system is very similar to the system in the game. There are stats, intelligence, skills, pawn systems, rewards, quests, and penalties that are usually in the game. You can earn points through daily quests just like he does now. Secondly, only he can see it. And it seems that the system is there to help him become stronger. He wouldn't complain if he could become stronger through this. But he still doesn't know exactly what the system wants from him and what the system will get from him if he becomes stronger. And about who is behind this system that worries him. After completing his daily quest, he sat on the nearest bench receiving his reward. Ring tilde. You have received the reward below. Reward 1, status recovery. Reward 2, stat points +3. Reward 3, random box X1. Accept it all, accept. As he said that, his body was covered with fine light. All his fatigue was gone and his body felt lighter. Wow, it's so cool. He then looked at the screen showing his status. The information box suspended in the air contains various data regarding its status. Name, Izuku Yagi. Level 1. Class None. Title None. HP 100. MP 10. Fatigue 0. Statistic. Strength 13. Vitality 10. Agility 10. Intelligence 13. Sense 10. Available stat points 3. Skill. Passive skill. Unknown LV max. Unyielding spirit 1, LV 1. Active skill. Sprint 2, LV 1. Should I use the points? He then transferred all the stat points to the power of the state after some consideration. Ring tilde. Statistic. Strength 16. Vitality 10. Agility 10. Intelligence 13. Sense 10. Available stat points 0. After managing his status, he then looked at the green key he got from a random box as a reward after completing the daily quest. A screen displaying important information appears. Item, dungeon key. Item rank, E. Type key. The key that allows instant dungeon creation. You can use this at the door of the Asakusa Toei subway line. Should I try it? Izuku decided to give it a try. After asking to leave the hospital for a while, he went straight to the Toei subway. When he arrived, there were not too many people there. He took out the key from his inventory. How do I use it? Should I put it at the entrance? He pushed the key in front of the entrance. A blue light began to swirl at the entrance of the station. He could feel the flow of energy from the inside. He took a deep breath and then went inside. As he entered, the interior of the station turned into a mess as if it had been abandoned for a long time. The door of the station closed as soon as he entered. A screen appeared in front of him again. Alarm. You cannot leave the dungeon. Either kill the boss or use Hearthstone. You must be joking. You asked me to clear this all by myself. I almost died doing it last time. Izuku couldn't help but sigh. He had no other choice but to do so. He began to walk deeper into the dungeon. The deeper he go, he could smell the fishy smell of blood in the air. He could hear the growl of the fierce beasts from the front, followed by the appearance of the red wolf in front of him. There is also a name that flies over the wolf's head: Steel Fang Raken. The wolf rushed towards Izuku, trying to bite him, but Izuku managed to dodge. He then took out the knife that was somehow in his inventory. Izuku rushed toward the wolf and attacked him with his knife. He stepped forward to avoid the wolf's bite, then stabbed it directly in the heart. Ring tilde. You have defeated Steel Fang Raken. You leveled up. A notice appeared in front of him moments after he killed the wolf. His level increased after he defeated the wolf, and his stats also increased. My level went up. Can I become strong with this? The wolf dies and drops a drop item, although all that is dropped is a garbage class item. In the end, he only sold it in the shop. It didn't take long for other wolves began to appear, and not just one, but their number also increased over time. This will not end quickly. Time passed and Izuku had killed a lot of monsters. Leveled up notifications also keep popping up. The way of fighting also began to improve so that killing the monsters that appeared became easier. Unbeknownst to him, the title Wolf Slayer appeared in his status. He had also obtained a Hearthstone. Should I stop? No, it'll be for nothing if I stop now. Not wanting to waste the opportunity, Izuku decided to keep going. The more he got in, the more monsters appeared. Not only wolves, but also panthers and apes start to appear. He knew that he was getting stronger and stronger. He also studied monster attack patterns so that he could predict where they would appear. He also noticed that the discoloration of the monster's name, originally orange and now white, means that he has become stronger than before. White means weak, orange means strong, and red means very strong. Izuku finally reached the boss room, inside of which was a giant snake with an orange name on top of his head. The giant snake in front of him whipped his tail, making Izuku hit the wall. He tried to block it, but unfortunately his strength was not enough for him. Izuku groaned in pain and vomited a little blood from his mouth. He tried to stand up even though his legs were shaking, preparing to face the enemy in front of him. Izuku ran towards the snake, trying to slice it with his knife, but the snake's scales were harder than he thought, which made the knife useless to fight it. He tried to think of a different idea, but the snake didn't give him time and hit him with its tail. Moreover, the movement of snakes is very fast due to the environment. I can't fall here. I'm here to become stronger. Izuku ran towards the snake. He grabbed the snake's neck and held it tightly. Put all the stat points on the strength. He tightened his grasp, grasping it as tightly as possible. He exerted all his strength into his grasp, causing the snake to suffocate to death. Ring tilde. You have defeated the Lord of the Swamp, Blue Poison Fangs Rasaka. You leveled up. You leveled up. You leveled up. Ha, I guess I got a bit stronger. Izuku leaned on the body of the snake he had just killed. The notification screen kept popping up in front of him. In addition to the notification of leveling up, he also got an item notification. Ring tilde. You have obtained Rasaka's fangs. Do you want to accept it? You have obtained Rasaka's venom. Do you want to accept it? Accept all. As he spoke, a dagger made of bones and a bag filled with poisonous substances appeared in his outstretched hand. Item, Rasaka's fangs. Item class, C. Type dagger. Attack plus 25. Inflicts paralysis and bleeding on attacks. Paralysis, the target has a chance to become immobile. Bleeding, the target will lose 1% of health per second. 3. Item, Rasaka's venom. Item class, A. Type elixir 4. Buff Kasaka armored scales is applied to consumption. A weak muscle debuff is applied to consumption. Rasaka armored scales, physical damage reduction plus 20%. Weak muscles, strength. Izuku looked at the item he had just gotten. Usually he got junk grade items from inferior monsters, and now he gets weapon items and elixir. As expected of the boss, the dropped items are pretty good here. He held a dagger in his hand. The dagger felt fit in his hand. He swung it left and right, trying to get used to it. He smiled in satisfaction with this item and then put it back into his inventory and shifted his gaze to the other items. As he read the information on the screen, he became a little hesitant. Although it is classified as a Class A item and has the effect of reducing physical damage by 20%, this item also has a debuff that weakens the muscles of 35 SDR. He decided to keep it in the inventory. Maybe it could come in handy somehow. After he finished with his item, a screen appeared and the interior of the station returned to normal. He then saw her appearance. His clothes were dirty and torn, his body was covered in scratches and cuts, and his face was also a mess. With his current condition, he looks like a beggar. Fortunately, no one was there at that time, so he could avoid unnecessary attention. Everyone would be shocked if a boy suddenly appeared out of nowhere in tattered clothes and a body full of wounds. He was then rushed to the hospital where he currently stays to receive treatment for his injuries. The next morning, he did a daily quest in his room. When he was done, he then looked at the business card Sujimo gave him that day on his bedside table. Should I call him? I can become stronger after killing monsters. This can be a good opportunity to grow stronger. After cleaning himself up, he used one of the phones in the hospital to make a call. It didn't take long, Sujimoto finally replied. Hello, Sujimoto-san, this is Izuku. So how is Izuku-kun? Your previous offer, I will accept it. Not long after he called, someone from the Hunter Bureau came to pick him up. A woman in a black suit came to pick him up in front of the hospital. Hello, my name is Hankawa. I'm from the Hunting Bureau and I'm here to pick you up. Is your name Izuku correct? Yes, that's right. Then, from here we will go directly to the Bureau office. Is there any place you want to visit first? No. Then let's go. Because the distance was not far from the hospital, it didn't take long for them to get to the office of the Hunter Bureau. Izuku narrowed his eyes as soon as they arrived. From the outside, this office looks like an ordinary office. The building consists of 2 floors, with a sign that reads, Hunter Local Hero Agency. Excuse me, Hankawa-san, isn't this the office of the Heroes Agency? That's right, this office is just for display only. The real Hunter Bureau is directly below it. Izuku just nodded, and then followed her into the office. Inside, he could see that several heroes were doing their jobs, and some office workers received phone calls or made reports. They then went to the elevator. Hankawa then pressed the button that took them to the B2 floor. Izuku was a little puzzled, based on what Hankawa said about the underground office of the Hunter Bureau. Wouldn't it be too small for an office of a government secret agency? He was about to question it, but he just kept it for the time being. They arrived downstairs. Hankawa then guided him through several hallways with complicated turns until they arrived at the elevator. Hankawa placed his ID in the detector, then the elevator door opened. The two entered the elevator, this time different from the previous elevator. There are more floor buttons here. They then headed to the B28 floor, and when they arrived, Sujimoto was already waiting for them there. Welcome to the Hunter Bureau. Is there any problem during the trip? No, sir. Good, Hankawa, you can rest now. Leave the rest to me. Yes, sir. Hankawa left them. Sujimoto then took Izuku to the living room to talk. As soon as they arrived, Sujimoto asked him to sit down and then prepare tea for them. So, Izuku-kun, have you considered my offer before? After thinking about it carefully, I have decided to become a hunter. I used to dream of being a hero, but since I was quirkless, I had to bury the dream. But now I have been allowed to fulfill my dream, albeit in a different way. Sujimoto then smiled at Izuku's answer. He knew that the child in front of him had a kind of strong willpower. He was glad that Izuku was willing to accept his offer. I'm glad you are willing to accept it. Should we continue the process of transferring you to the Bureau? Yes, please. Then should we tell your family about this matter? It's not necessary. They won't even care even if I disappear. Sujimoto then looked at Izuku with a pitying look. He somehow understood the situation. He has experienced many similar cases, ignored simply because quirkless. I understand your situation. Most of the hunters here have almost the same cases as you. If nothing else, you can start moving here from today. You will also receive training from pro hunters. We will also provide for your needs during your stay here, ranging from accommodation, food, and raid equipment, to other needs such as bank accounts, communication tools, and many others. Your payment will be directly transferred to the bank account provided by the Hunter Bureau, so you don't have to worry about financial problems. Is everything clear? If you still have any questions, please ask. Thank you, Sugimoto-san. Izuku was silent for a moment. He was happy to be able to get what he needed while he was here. But there is still one thing that bothers him, his family. Sugimoto-san, can I ask you for help? Sure, what is it? Can you help me erase all traces of me during my work here? Also, can you help remove me from my family's list? Sugimoto tilted his head, confused by the help Izuku asked for. You don't have to worry about that. All hunter operations are included as government operations, so it's only natural that it's a secret. But as for the other one, may I ask why? This is just a personal request. I just think that my family doesn't need someone like me. I also don't just want to keep the surname that has thrown me out. It's fine if you can't help me with that. Is not impossible to do. It's just that the process is quite complicated, and we can't continue the process further as long as the family in question disagrees. In the worst case, we may have to fake your death to do it. But I'll try. Izuku then stood up, bowing towards Sugimoto at a perfect 90 degrees. Thank you, Sugimoto-san. I will make sure to work hard from now on. Sugimoto smiled when he saw the earnestness of determination that Izuku had. You're welcome. Meanwhile, at Yaga's residence, Tashinori and Inko are having a serious conversation with their daughter Izumi. Tashinori was about to tell Izumi the truth behind his quirk. Izumi, you know that your father is a hero. Yes. There is something you should know. It's about my quirk. Izumi swallowed hard at what her father was about to say. Listen carefully to Izumi. My quirk is called One for All. This is a passed-down quirk. This quirk is like a torch that carries the spirit of ancestors from generation to generation. One person has developed this power and then passed it on to another person who will also develop it, and so on. It is the embodiment of a force that is constantly rotating with brave people with sincere hearts, and I want you to inherit this power. Izumi was surprised by the sudden announcement her father made. She was very happy that her father recognized her, but she suddenly thought of her brother. But Dad, what about Izuku? You already know that the task of a hero is to fight the villain. I can't let him go there facing danger alone when he doesn't have any strength to protect himself. I understand, Dad. I will accept it. That's my daughter. Then let's start our practice to make you the next #1 hero. Yes, Dad. As Izuku estimated, his family didn't even realize that he had been missing for a few days. They had forgotten about him for the next few months until one day they realized that something was missing. The first person to notice was Izumi. She tried to tell her parents that she couldn't find her brother anywhere. She also tried to ask her friends, and of course, they didn't know anything. They even forgot that Izumi had a brother. They try to find him through the police and All Might's connections as a hero, but after a year of no results, they finally give up and stop looking for him. Izuku, who witnessed all this, couldn't help but laugh at the stupidity of his former family. He may have left his family, but he will never forget where he came from and who took him on this road. And thanks to the help of Sugimoto, his name was finally removed from the family register. For the past year, Izuku has been training to become a hunter. On his first day, he was introduced to the rest of the training. He was quite surprised by the fact that most hunters don't have a quirk like him, but among these hunters, Izuku is the youngest. Since rumors about the double dungeon spread, many have talked about him as a survival double dungeon. Thanks to that, Izuku became quite famous among the hunters and bureau employees. Rumors about him don't stop there. Izuku is also famous for being the youngest and fastest graduate throughout the hunter's training record. Thanks to his smart brain and his ability to adapt quickly, Izuku was able to complete his training within 2 years. And now he is allowed to follow the raid in a team. He is currently doing his daily quests in his room. In this 1 year, his appearance has changed a lot. His body began to take shape, muscles also began to appear on his body, and he was tall beyond children of his age. Just from their appearance, Izuku looks like a pre-teenage child. When Izuku finished with his training, he felt someone approaching his room. Soon there was a knock on the door. Izuku, you're inside. Yes, wait a minute. He then opened the door to see who it was. Sugimoto-san, what's the matter? Just stop by and give this to you. You haven't gotten ready yet. You'll be late for your first raid. Sugimoto gives Izuku a file he requested earlier. He asked Sugimoto if he could get any information about the dungeon he was going to attack and the monsters inside. Thanks for this. I just finished my daily practice and I was just about to get ready. You'd better hurry up. The others will be gathered soon. Well, I will, and thank you again for this. Sugimoto then left Izuku so he could get ready. As Sugimoto left, Izuku entered his room. He opened the file that Sugimoto gave him. After a glance, he closed the file and got ready. He was wearing the body armor provided for him. He also carried the dagger provided by the Bureau as a backup and brought the Rasaka's fang as his main weapon. When finished, he then headed to the meeting room where the raid members gathered. After his preparations were completed, Izuku then headed to the meeting room to gather with the other raid teams. This invading team consists of 6 people, each with their class, team leaders, tankers, healers, warriors, mages, and assassins. Izuku arrived at the meeting room. 4 people had already gathered there. "Sorry I'm late." One of the men in the room stood up and approached him. He is a big man with a lot of muscles, brown hair, and a scar on his left eye. "It's okay. We are still waiting for the leader to come. You must be that rumored trainee. I am Deichi Isamu, B-rank tanker. Nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you too. My name is Izuku, E-rank assassin. Please help everyone." Hey, isn't he just a kid? We already have a troublesome teenager over here, and now they want us to babysit a child." A tall, blond man with a sword around his waist approached him and looked down on Izuku. He squinted his eyes at him, indicating that he didn't like him. "Hey, who are you calling the troublesome old man?" A teen boy with white hair and his body covered with bandages to cover his burn marks. He looked at the blond man with a disapproving look. "Leave him alone, besides that he's quite cute, isn't it? By the way, I'm Kyoko Manami, B-rank healer, and the blonde over there was Katsuhito Masao, C-rank swordsman, and the white-haired boy there is Todoroki Taoya, a mage. He is also E-rank just like you. Nice to meet you, boy." A beautiful woman with blue hair and green eyes stood behind him. She smiled at Izuku and tried to hug him, but Izuku immediately avoided her. "Oh, please let this elder sister hug you just once." "Stop it, he's clearly uncomfortable with it." Izuku turned his head to see a red-haired man with gray eyes carrying a big sword on his back. Seems to have all gotten acquainted with each other. "I am Ikaru Hiroto, A-rank swordsman, the leader of this raid this time. It's nice to meet you guys." After Ikaru arrives and introduces himself, they begin a briefing for the raid, starting from basic information such as dungeon grade, the monsters in it, and the battle formations they will use. Ikaru is very good at giving directions since he was a veteran hunter. He has been a hunter for 5 years, and he is also an A-rank hunter. Hunters' rank is determined based on their rank and ability, but for the team leader, it also includes how they manage the team. There are currently about 30 A-rank, 100 B-rank, 350 C-rank, and more than 1,000 D-ranks and E-ranks actively serving as hunters throughout Japan. There is also an S-rank among the hunters, but there are too few of them. Japan only had 5, and Sugimoto Ryoji is also one of them. Each hunter on duty is divided into several raid teams. There are currently more than 200 active teams. This team is not always permanent. Members can change at any time, and as long as hunters can fight, they can be deployed at any time. Just like the current team, this team is intended to train beginners like Izuku and Taoya to get used to the battles inside the dungeon. They have indeed received training, but what happens on the field is often different from training, so they need a companion to ensure the new hunter's safety. They had finished the briefing and were currently heading towards the gate. The location of gate is near an abandoned building in Yokohama. The gate's rank is a D rank, suitable for training beginners. The monsters faced are also only wolf kind of monsters, just like the ones Izuku faced when entering the instant dungeon. "Are you nervous, Izuku-kun?" Kyoko approached him from behind. She put her face closer. Izuku was quite surprised and quickly retreated. "Not really, it's just that it's been a long time since I get into the gate." "Tusk, arrogant brat." Katsuhito walked past him and soon entered the gate. Others began to follow him inside. Inside the dungeon, it looked like a cave that brought back unpleasant memories for Izuku. The picture of the huge statue he encountered when he first entered the dungeon was still vivid in his head. He shook his head to erase those pictures, refocusing on the raid in front of him. They kept going. Eventually, they met the first group of enemies. Just like before, Izuku faced a group of wolves, but now he is not alone. He came as a group. The wolves start attacking them. Ikaru, Katsuhiko, and Deichai guard the first line. Izuku guards the back line, and Todoroki burns the rest with fire, while Kyoko supports them with buff magic. They finished it pretty quickly. They kept walking in and facing more monsters the more they left. They finally reached the boss room. The boss monster was a dire wolf with an army of other wolves in it. The formation they used was still the same, but this time they let Izuku and Todoroki take care of the boss alone while the rest of the team took care of the rest of the wolf. Although Katsuhiko opposes it, he eventually agrees because he can't argue with Ikiru. Izuku rushes toward the boss, while Todoroki supports him from behind. He burns every wolf that will pounce on Izuku. Izuku attacks the boss's ankle with Rasaka's fang, leaving a paralyzing and bleeding effect on him. Dire Wolf fell to his knees. Izuku continued to attack using his sprint skills to increase his attack speed. Dire Wolf's body was covered in scars and began to bleed. Izuku then cut off his head to finish the fight. A familiar ringing and a notice appeared in front of him. Ring tilde. The dungeon boss has been killed. You leveled up. You leveled up. He smiled when he saw the notification in front of him. It's been a long time since he fought monsters. He just did his daily exercises so that his level improved quite slowly. He then checked his status. Name, Izuku. Level 21. Jobs none. Title Wolf Slayer. HP 2600. MP 391. Fatigues 37. Stats. Strength 53. Vitality 30. Agility 38. Intelligence 33. Sense 32. Available stat points 0. Skill. Passive skill. Unknown LV max. Unyielding Spirit 1, LV 1. Active skill. Sprint 2, LV 1. He smiled knowing that his level had improved. He looked around and found his other teammates had finished with the wolf army. They gathered after collecting the wolf mana crystals. Good job, everyone. Now let's leave here before the gate closes. They all came out of the dungeon. They were greeted by the Bureau's agents as soon as they came out. Ikiru is approached by agents to complete the report, while members of his raid head near the car to rest and clean up their equipment. Kyoko then approached Izuku, who was cleaning the blood stains from his dagger. She sat down beside him and struck up a conversation with him. So, Izuku-kun, how is your first raid? Not so bad. It's easier thanks to everyone's help. Is that so? Then what about the little party after this to celebrate your first raid? Is it okay? Then what about the others? Of course they have to come. It's a celebration after all. Ikiru and Daichai then joined the conversation with them after finishing their business with the Bureau's agent. Sounds fun. I know my good yakiniku restaurant near the Bureau office. Then what about you two? Are you guys coming? Kyoko then turned her gaze to Todoroki and Katsuhiko. Katsuhiko just ignored her and left, while Todoroki was about to leave but was stopped by Kyoko. Where do you think you're leaving, young man? This is a celebration for you too, so you have to come no matter what. With Todoroki being dragged by Kyoko, they head to the restaurant Daichai recommended to them. There are not many people at this time in the restaurant. They are sitting at a table for 6 people waiting for orders. While waiting, they started sharing conversations about themselves, mostly asking about Izuku and Todoroki since they were new. Both Izuku and Todoroki are still willing to answer some questions, mostly Izuku, but when it comes to personal questions, Izuku just smiles at them and Todoroki just shuts up. Izuku tries not to reveal his personal life as much as possible. He just didn't want people to remember him as part of his former family. They kept talking until finally Kyoko got drunk and started sticking to Izuku. When she was about to start making a fuss, Daichai knocked her unconscious and decided to take her home to the apartment where she lived. They decide to go home after Ikiru escorts Todoroki and Izuku to the Bureau's dormitory. Ikiru then leaves them in front of the dormitory, leaving Izuku alone with Todoroki. The atmosphere between the two of them was awkward. Izuku tried to dilute the atmosphere by starting a conversation. So, Todoroki-san, you also live in a dormitory too. None of your business. Todoroki then walked away to the dormitory, leaving Izuku alone. Izuku just stared at Todoroki as he went further. Grumpy man. Izuku then moved from where he was standing and decided to stop by the library. Izuku quite often goes to the library to study or to be alone. There are still many things he doesn't know about this world, also to fulfill his hobby of analyzing things. Izuku arrived at the library, and the librarian recognized him and greeted him as soon as she sees him. She is one of the staff working in the bureau. Her name is Tomomi Yuri. She has short brown hair, clear green eyes, and thick glasses. You came again today too, Izuku-kun. Yes, Tomomi-san, how was your day? Same as usual, how about you? I heard that you are going to do your first raid today, so how was it? Izuku smiled at Tomomi and then replied, Nothing special, thanks to everyone's help the raid is much easier. Is that so? It's good to hear it. Oh, by the way, the book you asked for me has been saved for you. Wait a minute, I will grab it right away. Tomomi looked for something in his desk drawer and took a few books and handed them to Izuku. Thank you, Tomomi-san, I appreciate it. Are you welcome? But you are amazing. Not many people are willing to read books these days. Is there any reason? This is just part of my hobby. Can I borrow a place here? Sure, use as much as you like. Thank you, Tomomi-san. Izuku headed to one of the chairs by the window. There are not many people in the library, so he can enjoy and focus on his work. Izuku opened a few pages and read it. He borrowed a book containing information about monsters. Izuku also took a few books from the shelf containing the same topic. Izuku often did personal research on monsters during his training, and he still does it today. Izuku also had time to make a paper on mustard, which was appreciated by the coaches. Izuku often studies monsters, ranging from their types, characteristics, habits, strengths, and weaknesses. In addition, he also learned about the strategy and attack patterns in the raid, as well as the rules of the hunter. Izuku wrote it down in the notebook he always carried with him to collect information. There were so many things he didn't know about gates, hunters, and monsters. He wanted to know why they were all in the first place, and the reason why mana was different from quirkless even though the use could be said to be similar. Izuku tried to find the answer, but he only found it vague. He has some theories, but still has no evidence to prove his theory. He can only continue to study and continue to enter the gate to find the truth. One day, he will expose the truth about this power. Izuku spent his time in the library until the library clock closed. He went to the front desk to borrow some books to take to his room in the dormitory. Excuse me, Tomomi-san, can I borrow these books to take home? Sure, but be sure to return it after 3 days, okay? Well, thank you, Tomomi-san. You are welcome. See you again, Izuku-kun. On the way to the dormitory, he met Todoroki, who was sitting alone on the park bench in the dormitory. His face looked blankly at the sky. He looked like he was lost in thought. Izuku decided to approach him and greet him. Todoroki-san. Todoroki saw who was calling him. He clicked his tongue when he saw Izuku, then took his gaze off him. Tusk, what do you want? What are you doing here? None of your business. Izuku looked at Todoroki. He then tried to ask the question that was in his head when he heard his name. Todoroki-san, are you perhaps the son of the number 2 hero, Endeavor? Todoroki widened his eyes when he heard the name. He then grabbed Izuku by the collar, pulling it roughly. Where did you hear it? Jay just guessed when I heard your surname. It was the same name as the name Endeavor. Todoroki let go of his grip, letting Izuku fall. Sharp boy, so what? Are you going to make fun of me? No, I'm just curious. But why did you become Hunter Todoroki-san? Why should I tell you? Did I go too far? I'm sorry for that because we're on the same team, so I thought it would be better if we become good friends. Again, sorry to bother you. I'll excuse me. See you later. Izuku then turned towards his dormitory, leaving Todoroki behind. Todoroki looked at Izuku's increasingly distant back. Tusk, he's just a kid. What does he know? A few months have passed, and Izuku has become accustomed to the team Ikiru leads. He became close to his other teammates, although it was still difficult to get close to Todoroki and Katsuhito. The two still have walls around them, especially Todoroki. After doing some tests and receiving permission from the above, Izuku is now officially a C-rank hunter. Isn't this easy enough? I thought we were going to encounter a powerful monster. Katsuhito said that as he killed Org in front of him. It's just a B-rank gate anyway, what do you expect? Daichi answers him as he defends against Org's attack. Oh my gosh, can you guys focus? We have to finish this before the afternoon, Kyoke. Why is he in such a hurry? Katsuhito. He said he had a date today, Ikaru. Heh, really? I never expected that he would have a girlfriend, Katsuhito. I heard that, Kyoka. Izuku smiled at the sight of his teammates familiar with each other. He tried not to interfere, he just didn't want to get into trouble. Listening to all the members arguing with each other, Ikaru saw them with a smile on his face and an intense aura. "I see you guys having fun here." They all fell silent as soon as they heard Ikaru speak. They couldn't help but agree that Ikaru was scarier than a monster when he was angry. Even Tadadroki and Katsuhito had to agree. "Sorry, Captain," Katsuhito. "Let's go so that we can go home quickly," Ikaru. "Yes, sir." Everyone replied at the same time. They kept walking until they reached the boss room, inside which was the Org Lord with 2 Org generals who were already waiting for them. "Let's quickly solve this," Daichi divert attention. "Katsuhito will take General Org on the left. Izuku to the right, Todoroki supports from behind and protects Kyoko. Kyoko, I leave the buff to you. I will advance." "Yes, sir." They followed Ikaru's instructions, their movements well coordinated considering they had been together for several months. Daichi began to attract aggro. The Lord's attention was focused on Daichi. Ikaru, Katsuhito, and Izuku stepped forward to launch an attack. Ikaru jumped up and raised his big sword high and slammed it into the head of Org Lord. General Org, who saw their leader being attacked, tried to protect him but was stopped by Izuku and Katsuhito. Ikaru's attack is stopped, and an angry Org Lord tries to counterattack by attacking the axe he is holding at Ikaru but is stopped by Daichi's shield. While Ikaru and Daichi were busy taking care of the boss, Izuku and Katsuhito were almost done with General Org. Izuku used his sprint skills and vital attacks to attack General Org. It didn't take him 5 minutes to complete. Katsuhito was also able to finish it quickly with Todoroki's help, although he ended up screaming in annoyance. Todoroki just ignored him while continuing to help Ikaru with his fire. Burns began to appear on his body and Kyoko instantly healed him. "Oh my gosh, why every time you use your fire this always happens?" "Noisy, this is none of your business." Kyoko took her eyes off him and stopped healing him. Daichi and Ikaru are still fighting, the rest of the team trying to help them. Izuku approached Org Lord from behind, slashing at the veins of his legs accurately. Katsuhito also entered the fight. He slashed at Org Lord's hand quickly. Org Lord's hands drooped limply with scars and blood splattered. His defenses were now completely exposed. "Finish, IT Captain." Daichi excitedly yelled at Ikaru to make the final attack from behind. Izuku and Katsuhito immediately moved away from Org Lord. Ikaru jumped up as soon as the two of them moved away. He raised his sword high and then slammed it on Org Lord's head as he had done before. Slash tilde. The head of the Org Lord was finally cut off from his place. Ikaru swung his sword to clear the blood attached to his sword. They gather around Kyoko for healing. Izuku is also approaching, but he is stopped due to the notice that appears in front of him. Ring tilde. The player has reached the required level. In addition to the level-up notification, there is a different notification than usual. Ring tilde. Job change has arrived. Quest alert. Will you receive quests? Accept, reject. What's the matter, Izuku? You didn't come. Ikaru. Yes, I'm coming, Izuku. Good job, everyone. Now let's collect mana crystals and leave here. Ikaru. After collecting the mana crystal from the monster's body, they went outside the gate. Izuku was still pensive at the thought of the notification that appeared in front of him. Job change? Really? If I'm not mistaken, there is a job in my player status, and it is still empty. He then checked his status to make sure. Name, Izuku. Level 40. Job none. Title, Wolf Slayer. HP 7490. MP 652. Fatigue 0. Stats: Strength 97. Vitality 59. Agility 97. Intelligence 55. Sense 81. Available stat points 0. Right, it's still empty. Should I check it out? Anyway, tomorrow I'm free. Early the next morning, Izuku arrived at a small hill in the city. The hill was quite quiet and there were only dense trees around. He went inside. He took out a black key from the inventory he got a few days ago after receiving the job change quest. He pushed the key into the empty air. A purple energy vortex appeared where he pressed the key, just like the instant dungeon before. The energy of the vortex extends further to form a purple energy gate. Izuku took a deep breath, then stepped inside the gate. The interior is in the form of a passage with the impression of a European kingdom. The torches in the room began to light up one by one. Suddenly, a notification popped up in front of him. Ring tilde. Alarm. You can't leave this dungeon until you clean it up. In this area, medicines and shops are inaccessible. When you level up, you can't accept status healing. So there is a limit here, okay? Let's get started. The knights began to gather in front of him. Izuku rushed towards and then activated the sprint skill, and he accelerated his attack. He used his dagger to attack, but because of his high defense, he could only leave scratches. Tisk, not enough. He put his dagger back into the inventory, and then he used his fist to smash one of the knight armors. The knight's armor was instantly dented and fell. Ring tilde. You have killed a knight. Yash. He shouted happily when a notification appeared in front of him. Izuku continued to attack the knight using his fists. Time flies. He has defeated many knights so far, not only knights, assassins, magicians, and archers. He also got some good items and the stealth, skill rune stone that he got after killing an assassin. Izuku finally appeared at the door. He could feel the cold wind coming from behind the door. So this is the boss room. He stared at the door, preparing for the challenge ahead. Let's go. He opened the door inside, which was a throne room with an empty throne on the podium. The pressure felt is stronger than outside. The door closed, and he heard footsteps coming from behind the throne. A knight figure appeared wearing crimson-red armor with a long mane and a cloak of the same color. The red knight dragged the long golden sword with him. A pair of eyes glowing white behind the helmet, a red name hovering over his head. Blood-red Commander Igris. Izuku felt goosebumps on his back. He smiled. It's been a long time since he felt this way. The Red Knight walked down from the podium of the throne, rushing to attack Izuku. He immediately swung his long sword. Izuku was able to dodge, but the pillar behind him was cut off by the impact of the sword's swing. Izuku tried to counterattack, but the dagger was unable to scratch the knight's armor. The Red Knight didn't give Izuku a chance. He kept attacking him with his long sword. Izuku was still trying to avoid his attack, but he got cornered more and more as time went on. He jumped to the side for a safe distance. He stuffed his dagger back into his inventory and cracked his hand, getting ready for a fist fight with his bare hands. The Red Knight saw this. He then took off his equipment. He plunged his sword into the ground, took off the cloak and 2 daggers tied to his waist, and knocked it to the ground. Knight fighting style right. I guess I have been underestimated. The Red Knight didn't waste any time. He went straight to Izuku, pulled the hood of the jacket he was wearing, and threw it to the side of the room. Izuku's body hit the wall so hard that it left a hole there. The knight launched an attack again. Izuku held his fists with both hands. Izuku again jumped, taking a safe distance from the knight. Damn, this is beyond my expectation. His ability can probably be compared with S-rank. Izuku rushed toward the knight. He activated the sprint skill to match his attack speed. They continued to fight one-on-one. Suddenly, the knight grabbed his foot and threw him again against the wall above the throne. He then fell, landing on the throne. Izuku sat panting, blood dripping from his mouth, his body still trembling with shock. The Red Knight approached him. He raised his hand, and the long sword stuck in the ground flew towards his hand. He swung his sword about to behead Izuku, but he managed to stop it thanks to the High Knight's gauntlet item in his hand. I won't lose. Izuku took out another dagger from the inventory and thrust it directly into the knight's left eye. He pushed the knight to the ground. The knight drew the dagger from his eyes. Izuku brought back the dagger in his hand, then pierced it into the gap of the knight's helmet. He activated the vital strike skill and continued to attack the same point. Yay. Izuku shouted his remaining determination until finally, after a lot of effort, a notice appeared in front of him. Ring tilde. Alarm. You has killed Blood-Red Commander Igris. You leveled up. You leveled up. Huffed, I made it. Izuku sat on the floor, exhausted. Notifications kept popping up in front of him. There are several drop items he got after killing the Red Knight. Ring tilde. Item, Red Knight's helmet. Item class, S. Type armor. 15% physical damage reduction. 20 stamina, 20 strength. Runestone, Dominator's Touch. Type Runestone. A skill can be obtained by breaking the rune. Item, Leather Pouch. Type Container. The bag is used to store things. Contains 1,500,000 gold. Item, Heartstone. Type Consumable. Exclusive quest item. If you solve Hearthstone, you will leave the dungeon immediately. If the job search ends, the dungeon is automatically destroyed. Can't walk. Has obtained. Wow, 4 items at a time, I guess defeating a high-ranking boss is also worth the reward. S-rank items, this is the first time I have obtained them, rune stones and leather pockets. But why is there a hearthstone? Is this not over yet? Ring tilde. The job change mission is about to begin. The longer you last, the more points you can accumulate and put you on higher and higher jobs. 000000. Good luck. 000001. Damn, so this is just the beginning. It didn't take long, 3 portals formed around him, and knights began to emerge from inside the portal, with armor and each holding different types of weapons in hand. The knights began to attack him. Although he was tired, he could still block the attack. Izuku tried to take a distance so he could breathe and buy time to think. Using the stealth skill, he hid behind one of the pillars, but the wizards in the room could find him with their detection skill. The knights attacked him again. Izuku avoided them, but he was cornered now. He was surrounded by knights coming out of the portal. The number of knights is constantly growing. Izuku glanced at the timer on it. 000508. Only 5 minutes. This is too much, I have to go out. Izuku clutched the hearthstone in his hand. He was about to smash it, but the hammer of one of the knights hit him, making him drop the hearthstone from his hand. Damn. The knights didn't give Izuku a chance. They kept surrounding him like ants. Because of the accumulation of fatigue, his body fell to its knees on the floor. He began to hear voices in his head. You useless, quirkless garbage. What can a weak person like you do? Stop dreaming, you can't be a hero. Shut up. The voices kept echoing in his head, the voices of the people who had haunted him since childhood. It's really sad. Izuku turned around when he heard a voice that was different from the one in his head. A young figure walked out of the dark shadow. That figure was the young Izuku when he hadn't accepted his awakening, when he was still a pitiful figure in the eyes of everyone, even himself. Seeing you struggling so hard even though it would all be worth it. Isn't it lucky that someone like you can advance so far? Izuku Yagi. The figure began to walk around Izuku. He watched it carefully. Wow, is it me? I don't believe that we are the same person. You are taller and look stronger. But only the appearance changed. The inside was still a loser. What's the difference, you and me? Shut up. A knight approached him, swinging a sword that was about to slice him. Izuku grabbed the knight's hand and then hit the armor with all his might. Heh, you put yourself in that position again. Isn't it time for you to give up? Neither heroes nor hunters, you can't be one of them. I said shut up. The other knights continued to attack him, and Izuku's movements began to slow down. One of the knights hit his body with a hammer. He fell directly to the ground. Izuku tried to wake up, but his body had already reached its limit. Ring tilde. You failed to complete the daily quest. You will be transferred to the penalty zone for the specified duration. A notification suddenly appeared in front of him. It seems that luck is still on his side. The timer starts running backward. They said luck is also an ability. You are lucky this time. Letting you die here is too wasted. Until we meet again, Izuku Yagi. The scene of the throne room filled with knights turned into a familiar desert scene. He lay on the sand, taking a breath. Come to think of it, I haven't done a daily quest today. He opened a shop to buy some high-end potions to recover from his fatigue. Ring. 4 hours have passed since Izuku was transferred to the punishment area. He had killed most of the giant centipedes that appeared in front of him. Being in the penalty area, he could access stores and inventory. His level, skills, and stats have also improved a bit here. Penalty quest, survive. Goal, survive until the time runs out. Time required, 4 hours. Remaining time, 0 hours 5 minutes 20 seconds. There is still some time left. I think I can recover. I should also reorganize the weaponry and strategy. Izuku then opens a shop to check if any weapons can help him in fighting the defenses of formidable knights. He then found the weapon he was looking for. You have purchased Knight Killer. Item Knight Killer. Item class B. Type Dagger. 75 attack. Effect Knight Killer. If used against an opponent with heavy armor, your attacks deal 25% additional damage. Is quite expensive, but the effect is suitable for the next fight. He also bought a bandage and wrapped it around his hand and dagger so he wouldn't drop it like when he dropped Heartstone. This will work. Izuku remembered the rune stone he got after killing the Red Knight. He then took it out of the inventory and cracked it. Ring tilde. Skill Dominator Touch has been learned. Skill Dominator Touch LV 1. Active skill. No mana required. You can control objects without touching them. A skill without mana, is it like the one used by the Red Knight before? Let's try. Izuku raised his hand towards the centipede carcasses around him. The carcass only shook for a moment and then stopped. Ring tilde. The object did not move due the intelligence stat is too low. I guess it doesn't work on the big things. Well, maybe it could be useful somehow. Penalty quest, survive. Goal, survive until the time runs out. Time required, 4 hours. Remaining time, 0 hours 0 minutes 4 seconds. Time remaining, 0 hours 0 minutes 3 seconds. Time remaining, 0 hours 0 minutes 2 seconds. Time remaining, 0 hours 0 minutes 1 second. Time remaining, 0 hours 0 minutes seconds. The penalty quest is concluding. The scenery returned to the throne room. The number of knights has gathered enough to fill the room. The knights realized the existence of Izuku, and they directly attacked him, but they were smoothly cut off by the dagger of the Night Killer. This Night Killer effect is very helpful. It can cut armor like butter. Izuku continued to fight the knights. He realized something was wrong. No matter how many knights he had killed, neither the notification appeared nor the feeling of leveling up. Even killing the centipede gave him experience points. Something's wrong here. Since the battle started, only the knights have attacked him. He then remembered that not only knights were in the room, but wizards were also there. Don't tell me, summoning magic. Everything makes sense now. Izuku looked around and found a wizard hiding among the knights. He threw his dagger, which then hit the witch. Ring tilde. You have killed a wizard. Ring tilde. Skill dagger throw has been learned. The knights who had been controlled by the wizards fell instantly after the wizards were killed. As expected, let's check how many are left. Izuku activated the stealth skill to trigger the wizard's detection skill. He clung to one of the pillars, ascertaining the number and position of the remaining wizards from above. 1, 2. There are 5 of them. He used the pillars as a foothold and immediately lunged at any wizard within his attack range. The witch was dismembered, leaving a tattered cloth on the floor. You have killed a wizard. 4. He attacked the group of knights in front of him while slashing at each of them. Izuku didn't think it was a big deal thanks to the weapon he was holding. He tried to get close to the wizard, but the knights attacked him. Izuku has slashed countless knights until a pile of shattered armor formed under his feet. The road opened, and he directly lunged at the wizard in front of him and slashed at him. You have killed a wizard. 3. The remaining wizards gathered in one place, activating the magic circle to summon the golems from the pile of shattered armor under his feet. Izuku lost his footing and immediately jumped down to avoid the golem's hand that was about to crush him. This is troublesome, however. The number of knights in the room was reduced thanks to the summoning of golems, leaving a lot of room for movement. Izuku activated the sprint through the skill and directly slashed at the remaining 3 wizards. You have killed a wizard. You have killed a wizard. You have killed a wizard. Finally. Izuku turned his gaze to the timer that stopped above his head. 04, 30, 16. All the monsters in the room have been slain. The quest will end now. You will be able to choose a class based on the amount of points you have collected. A job will be granted after the player's actions have been analyzed. Wait, I can't choose. Wherever the player goes, the Reaper follows. The player's path is littered with corpses and the smell of blood. What? As the player possesses strength, he does not leave anything to his teammates and overcomes everything with his strength. Your desire for strength burns strong enough to call those who wander the valley of death, and the army of the dead who follows your commands shall create a path where your thread will be the law, and you would never need another's help again. Wait, what, Death Soldier? Is this real? Your job is... Necromancer. Seriously, Necromancer, you said. Isn't it a wizard subclass that has an undead army behind it? If in the game they leave almost all the battles to their subordinates. Why did I get this job? I thought I would get an assassin or warrior job considering the role I played as a hunter until now. Will you accept your job? Accept refuse. So I can choose, for now I will refuse. Necromancer is a hidden class. Do you still wish to refuse? What? Hidden class? Among the hunters, there are hunters with special abilities. A hunter who can make very powerful shields, a hunter with buff abilities even though he is not a healer. Although some hunters have quirks, some hunters who do not have quirks also awaken this special ability. Hunters with unique abilities join special attack units and often enter dungeons with an A rank or higher. Could it be that the unique abilities of that hidden class are the same as those hunters? Thinking about it, these wizards also have the same abilities, as if the fight I did before was to show you an example of this skill. I don't know who made this, but the storyline is pretty funny. Compared with these wizards, I can fight. If a wizard has melee combat skills and can create his army, he will be able to complete Dungeon B or maybe a higher rank dungeon alone. Ring tilde. Your job has been chosen. Based on the amount of points you obtained, you will be given a chance to promote to a superior class. You have exceeded the expected playtime. Points will be added. You did not use a Hearthstone. Points will be added. Final health is above 50%. Points will be added. All enemies have been slain. Points will be added. The total points have exceeded the feat limit. The dark energy began to gather and entered Izuku's body and revolved around him. You will be promoted from Necromancer to Shadow Monarch. Shadow Monarch promotion. You have learned a job-exclusive skill. You have obtained the bonus stats. You have obtained the title, the one who overcomes adversary. Izuku could feel the mana in his body overflowing. He looked around. He could hear the screams coming from the bodies of the knights around him. Shadow extraction can be used on this target. Shadow extraction can be used on this target. Shadow extraction can be used on this target. Ring tilde. Please select your command phrase for shadow extraction. The command phrase. Izuku was silent for a while thinking about what command words he was going to use. Arise. Black smoke billowed from the corpses scattered around him. A hand appeared between them, followed by another. The Black Knights got up, their number was 40, and they all knelt to salute their new leader. Skill, Shadow Extraction LV1. Job-specific skills. No mana required. A shadow soldier is created from a body without life by taking out its mana. The change of failure increases the higher the target's stats are, and the more time passed since the target's death. Shadows able to be extracted, 40-40. Skill, Save Shadow LV1. Job-specific skills. No mana required. You absorb created shadow soldiers and save them. Saved soldiers can be summoned and reabsorbed whenever and wherever the owner desires. Shadows stored, 0-30. This is so cool. Doesn't it mean that I can turn the dead into a summoned creature? Izuku shouted excitedly, looking at the scene in front of him. Besides, no matter how mature he is still a child. Although there are 40 of them, he can only keep 30. 27 normal rank LV1 infantry, 3 elite rank LV1 magicians. What about the boss? Shadow extraction can be used on this target. It would be great to have the strength of an S-rank hunter in an army. After setting aside one empty slot with extraction cancel, Izuku walked towards the Red Knight and stopped right in front of him. Blood Red Commander Igris, arise. Black smoke billowed from the knight's body but soon spread. You failed to extract the shadow. You still have 2 chances remaining. This will not be easy. Izuku again tried to resurrect the Red Knight, but the result remained the same. He then recalled the throne that was in the room. Izuku stretched out an open hand towards the Red Knight's body. Stop protecting the seat of someone who has left, and try to protect me who is in front of you. Arise. Dark mana rose from the knight's body. A cold wind blew from the resulting impact. The jet black knight rose from the dead at the call of his master, leaving a blood-red color and replacing it with black. His mane and cloak swayed as black smoke billowed all over his body. He then bowed in welcoming his new master. You have upgraded the shadow. Shadow's level will be 7. Shadows higher than rank knight can be named. Blood Red Commander Igris, no, it's too long. Your name now is Iris. Igris LV. 7. Rank Knight. You have successfully extracted the shadow. Status. Name Izuku. Level 51. Job Shadow Monarch. Title Wolf Slayer 1 more. HP 11,035. MP 1022. Fatigue 0. Statistic. Strength 132. Vitality 91. Agility 111. Intelligence 80. Sense 93. Physical damage reduction 46 equipped. Remaining points 10. Skills. Passive skills. Unknown LV Max. Perseverance LV 1. Advanced Dagger Arts LV 1. Active skills. Sprint LV 2. Vital Strike LV 2. Dagger Throw LV 1. Stealth LV 1. Class skills. Active skills. Shadow Extraction LV 1. Save Shadow LV 1. Equipped items. Red Knight's Helmet S, Warden's Necklace A, High Knight's Chestplate B, High Knight's Gauntlet B, High Magician's Ring B, Assassin's Boots. Izuku felt goosebumps at this scene. The Black Knight bowed in front of him, ready to fulfill his orders. Take good care of me. When Izuku came out of the dungeon, the sun had already risen and the sky was clear. He checked his mobile phone. It was already 7 o'clock past. So I was in the dungeon for most of the day. I'm so tired and I need to sleep. He then walked down the hill, stopping a passing taxi, to return to the dormitory. It took a few minutes to finally find an empty taxi, and it was 30 minutes' drive until it arrived at the dormitory. The residents of the dormitory who saw him tried to greet him, but he only waved at them because he was too tired. He arrived at his room and threw himself directly on the bed. It didn't take long for Izuku to fall asleep directly. Being in the basement all day was draining him. He didn't bother even with all the dirt and holes stuck to his clothes. He was just tired. Outside his room came the sound of knocking on the door. She knew there was someone outside her room, but she still refused to get up. Her cell phone suddenly rang a loud ring that irritated her. She opened it to check who called her in the morning. He looked at Sugimoto's name on the screen of his mobile phone and then picked it up. Finally, where are you? I tried to look for you since yesterday. I'm sorry, Sugimoto-san. I'm too tired and try to rest now. There is no time for it. We have an emergency here. A red gate has appeared in Tokyo. What? Izuku jumped out of bed after hearing what Sugimoto said. His eyes widened, and he had forgotten all his fatigue. He then rushed to the door and opened it to see Sugimoto standing there, still holding his phone. Explain again. So you're here, but what's wrong with your clothes? What did you do all day yesterday? It's not important, just tell me what's going on. Okay, calm down first. You should first clean yourself up. You look like a beggar with torn clothes and dirt on your body. Izuku then sees his disheveled appearance. He realizes it because his mind is only focused on resting. Ah, you're right. The red gate is a gate that blocks any access from the inside and outside. Once you're trapped inside, you can't go out or get help from outside. You will be completely isolated, as the gate will disappear from the inside and block any access from the outside. You can only go out after killing the boss or wait for the gate to open by itself. The red gate usually appears at the high-rank gate, but sometimes it also appears at the C-rank gate, although the case is very rare. After the red gate is formed, the dungeon rank will increase, and it will be difficult to identify because the magic energy stops flowing out of the gate. The environment inside the red gate is usually extreme: a snow area with extremely cold temperatures, a forest full of poisonous insects, and a deadly desert with a temperature above 60 degrees Celsius. The flow of time inside the red gate is also different from the outside. 1 hour outside is equal to 1 day inside. You will have no choice but to strive to survive in a dangerous situation or simply accept your death. Now a red gate has appeared in Tokyo. Izuku and Sugimoto were on their way to the gate location. Izuku is already wearing his raid equipment. He will be part of the rescue team to rescue the raid team that is trapped inside the gate. The red gate appeared at the C-rank gate. 5 hunters had entered to clear the gate: an A-rank tanker, a B-rank healer, and 3 C-rank warriors. In front of the gate, many Hunter Bureau agents have gathered. Even Ikaru and Daichai were there too. While Izuku gathered with his teammates, Sugimoto approached one of the agents there. "Sir, how long has it been since the raid team get in?" "It's been 4 hours, sir." "Means it has been 4 days inside. We have to get ready. The gate can be opened at any time. Hopefully, our invading team can survive inside." Sugimoto then approached Izuku and his team to explain the situation. "Ikaru-san, the gate can be opened at any time. Maybe it can be longer. I hope you don't mind that." Sugimoto: "It's okay. Their safety is our priority. Besides, we don't have a schedule to do today, right?" Ikaru: "Yes, of course, Deicha." "What about you, Izuku? Sorry if I dragged you into this even though you are exhausted." Sugimoto: "No problem with me. I'll try to rest while waiting here." Izuku: "Thanks for that. I will try to gather more members for the rescue team while we still have time." Sugimoto. Sugimoto then left them to answer his phone call. Izuku sitting there leaning against the wall with Deicha and Ikaru beside him. After 7 hours of waiting, the gate finally opened. The gate that had been red turned blue. Izuku and the rest of the rescue team are getting ready to enter the gate. As soon as the gate was fully opened, rescue teams rushed in. They entered, and inside the gate was land covered in snow. There are 10 rescue team members including Izuku, Deichai, Ikaru, and even Todoroki. The leader of the team is Ikaru since his rank is higher than everyone on the team. They were separated into 5 small teams and immediately dispersed in search of the raid team. Izuku and Todoroki go to the north, while the rest will go the other way. The two of them went deep into the woods. The traces of fighting were along the road as they passed. It didn't take long. They finally arrived at a cave full of ice bear monsters. The two of them hid behind a tree, watching how the situation was. The bear didn't pay attention to them. They just wandered around the cave. Todoroki opened his mouth and started talking. "Should we call the others for help?" "It's not necessary. Actually, there's something I want to try." What are you doing?" "Just wait, and Todoroki-san, please, keep secret what you see from now on." "What?" Izuku then stepped forward to confront the ice bear head-on. He didn't want to lose the opportunity to test out his new skills. "Arise." Izuku's shadow began to spread, black smoke rising followed by a raised black hand, revealing the Shadow Knight army that appeared behind him. Todoroki, who was watching, was shocked by the scene in front of him. He has known Izuku for a long time, but he has never shown any skills except his assassin skills, and his growth speed is beyond common sense. Izuku gives 2 orders to his soldiers: find the trapped hunters and finish off all the threatening enemies. The soldiers advanced according to the order. They rushed forward to attack the ice bears and search for the missing hunters. Those shadow soldiers, no matter how much they are destroyed, always recover as long as Izuku's mana remains. Todoroki was stunned to see the Black Knight killing the ice bear in front of him, coupled with the line of wizards who had fire attack power equivalent to that of a B-rank hunter. Todoroki tried to approach him, but was stopped by a Black Knight with a black robe and a mane on his head. Izuku raised his hand, stopping Igris from trying to attack Todoroki. "It's okay, he's a friend." Igris then removed his grip from his sword and bowed his head, showing an apology to his master. Not long after the fight started, the ice bear boss appeared and wiped out all the shadow soldiers. The bear boss must have sensed his subordinates being attacked. Ordinary shadow soldiers can't handle the boss alone, so Izuku sent Igris, his strongest knight, to deal with the boss. Igris raised his sword, preparing to attack. The two charged forward at the same time. The ice bear boss raised his claw high, about to attack Igris, but Igris was able to dodge and slash the boss's shoulder smoothly. The bear attacked him again, but Igris dodged and left several slash wounds on his body. The bear's arm drooped limply from the wound left by Igris, nor could he move with the tendons of the legs neatly cut. Igris stood in front of the bear, slashing directly at his head. The boss's ice bear's head was fly into the air and was caught by Igris's hand. Igris walked to Izuku with the head of the ice bear in his hand. He offered the head of the boss to him, like a knight offering the head of an enemy general to his king. The knights who were in charge of finding the trapped hunter had also returned, although they were only able to carry his body. Todoroki was stunned again by the scene in front of him. He approached him once more and grabbed him by the collar. Because of the height difference, Izuku's body was slightly lifted off the ground. "Hey, Izuku, you better explain what this is." Izuku retracted his gaze, trying not to make eye contact. "They are one of those skills I just acquired." What? How can it explain all this? Izuku was about to answer, but he suddenly felt a strong presence approaching their location. Not just one, but several of them. He could feel the troops approaching them. I'll explain it later, we'll have to deal with what's coming first. Wait, what? Before Todoroki could finish his words, an army of ice elves appear in front of them. They didn't even bother to hide their presence. They appeared in front of Izuku and Todoroki fully armed. There were more than 20 of them. Look, what do we get here? The ice elf leader stepped forward, facing Izuku and Todoroki with one of his subordinates. He came up with a smirk on his face. I feel some strong presence, but it seems that the one here is more interesting. Ice elves, in contrast to the name elves who have a beautiful impression, ice elves are monsters that hunt hunters mercilessly. They are better known as Hayaki. Their skin is completely pale blue with white hair like snow. Their height is a more normal human, with a body designed entirely for hunting. Izuku and Todoroki felt the crisis ahead. They knew that it was too much for them to face Hayaki's army alone. But Izuku thinks differently. He has an army equivalent to Hayaki's army. The only problem is that his current mana is low and needs time to recover. Izuku already had a plan in his head. He patted the shoulder of Todoroki, who was still standing stiffly beside him. Todoroki-san, can you help me buy some time? What are you trying to do in this situation? Shouldn't we run and seek help? Didn't you hear that? We are not the only ones facing the enemy. Other groups have already started their fight since just now. So it will be difficult for us to get help now. Believe me, I have a plan. Todoroki hesitated, but what Izuku said was indeed true. The sound of fighting sounded not long after they separated from the other group. In the current situation, there is no other choice but to rely on yourself and the person you are with at the moment. Todoroki closed his eyes, deciding to believe in Izuku this time. Fine, I will believe you this time. If the situation goes wrong, don't expect me to save you. I'm fine with that. So what's the plan? Izuku nodded his head and then told Todoroki about the plan in his head. I want you to use your fire to cover the monster's sight while I restore mana and gather troops. Okay, but you better give me an explanation after we're done. Agreed. Todoroki stepped forward to light up the fire and block Hayaki's view of them. Izuku ran to the back, opened his inventory, took out a few bottles of potions and drank them quickly. He approached the ice bear's body. He then uttered a word of command to resurrect the dead. Arise. The black smoke began to rise, followed by the black hand rising from the ice bear's corpse. The black bear army was formed to increase the strength of the Izuku army. With half of the mana filled, Izuku once again summoned his troops. Enough, Todoroki-san. Todoroki extinguished the fire and then rushed to the back of Izuku's shadow soldiers. He got a burn mark on his hand due to excessive use of fire. Izuku ordered his soldiers to attack. He then gave Todoroki the healing potion that he had stored before. What is this? This is a potion. Your mana and injuries will recover faster with this. Where did you get this thing? I'll tell you later. For now, just focus on recovery. I may need your help during the fight. Izuku rushed forward to join the fight, leaving Todoroki with 2 knights to guard him. He held his 2 trusted daggers in hand, killing the enemy along the way. The battle was evenly matched at first because the number of each side was equal, but over time, Izuku's side was at a disadvantage. Hayaki's total combat power is stronger than Izuku's shadow soldiers. With the current level and remaining mana, also considering how his army is being continuously destroyed, their recovery won't be able to keep up. I need a stronger shadow. He looked around, and his eyes saw the corpse of the hunter brought back previously by his soldiers. He approached the corpses. He then put his hand on the corpse and activated his skills. Arise. Smoke briefly rose from Hunter's corpse but disappeared immediately. This is the same as when Izuku tried to resurrect Igris. I'm sorry for doing this, but we need your help, so please lend us your power. Arise. The black smoke formed again, accompanied by a roar, and a black knight knelt in front of Izuku. The size of this shadow army is larger than that of other shadow soldiers. He carried a giant axe and a shield in his hand. Ring tilde. Please choose a name for this soldier. Since your real name is Kurigane, Iron should be fine. Iron LV1. Rank Knight. The two then joined the fight, and the plot of the fight finally returned to Izuku's side after they joined forces. Todoroki has also recovered so that he could join the fight. The leader Hayeki burst into laughter at the sight of his opponent. He enjoys the plot of the fight. He is very happy to find a strong opponent. AHA, I know you're strong. Compared to that trash, you're more interesting. What, did you just call us trash? The leader Hayeki falls silent. He was astonished to see a human being who could understand their language. You know our language. Izuku widened his eyes in surprise at the fact that he could understand the language of monsters. Todoroki, who had listened before, was as surprised as Izuku. Throughout the history of raids, there has never been a single recorded interaction between hunters and monsters like this. To able to converse, how splendid. I have a proposal. It won't be detrimental to you. But first, let me ask you a question. Despite not being a human, why are you on the side of humans? What are you talking about? Haha, haven't you noticed? In this head, a voice constantly tells us to kill humans, but I can't hear it in your presence. Izuku narrowed his eyes. He was a little distracted by what leader Hayeki said. A voice telling them to kill humans. Is it the same as the system command? If the sound doesn't apply to me, it must be because I became the player of the system. There is no need for us to fight further, and we both do not want any further casualties. Hand over the human behind you, and I will spare your life. How about it? Let me also ask, who exactly are you guys? Where did you come from, and why are you trying to kill humans? We are. The appearance of the leader Hayeki suddenly blurred just before he could answer. He then returned to normal, but he repeated what he had said before, like the bug that appear in the system. There is no need for us to fight further, and we both do not want any further casualties. Give up the human beings that are behind you, and I will spare your life. How about it? What is that? Did he ignore my question? Or, do you agree with our offer? Izuku stays silent for a moment. He then looks directly at him. Do you agree to my offer? I refused. Izuku resolutely rejected the Hayeki boss's offer. The boss's face contorted at Izuku's answer, but a smirk formed on his face. As if expecting a battle to occur, the Hayeki boss told him his name. Fine, my name is Baruka. What's yours? Izuku. Battle once again broke out. The shadow soldiers fought Hayeki's army. Izuku along with Igris and Iron came forward to face Baruka head-on. Clashes between weapons were heard throughout the battle. Sparks formed whenever their weapons clashed against each other. The fight between Izuku and Baruka is temporarily a series, considering that the weapons they wield are the same. Izuku retreated to make a distance and signaled Todoroki to attack. Baruka's body was shrouded in Todoroki's blue flames. Igris appeared from behind the fire, trying to attack him, but Baruka was faster and able to avoid Igris's attack. Izuku reappeared behind him, attacking him using Rasaka's fang. The effect of the dagger had given him an effect, however, because the enemy's resistance was higher, the effect was lost. You trash are quite persistent. You're not in the position to say such a thing. How about looking around you? The army led by Baruka was successfully suppressed by Izuku's shadow soldiers, and there was almost nothing left of them. Is that all your soldiers are capable of? You bastard! Those soldiers will be gone if I get rid of you. Izuku threw the Night Killer at Baruka. He increased the speed of the dagger using the Dominator Touch skill. Baruka tried to block it, which made his dagger shatter. Iron emerged from behind and then held Baruka's body in his arms. Izuku retreated as fast as he could, then turned his gaze to Todoroki and the magicians. Todoroki-san now. A pillar of fire formed where Baruka was. The resulting temperature was no joke. The layer of snow around the fire pole immediately melted and dried up. With Todoroki's magic and the magicians combined, there should be no survivors of it. But they couldn't let their guard down considering how their opponents were able to deal with Izuku and Igris's attack alone. The fire dimmed, revealing Baruka's figure covered with burn marks all over his body. You bastard, I'll kill you all. Before Baruka could do anything, Izuku was already there, stabbing Baruka with his dagger while using the stealth skill to avoid his detection. Looks like this is the end. Who do you think you're facing? Baruka took Izuku's hand. He then quickly shook it off, walking away and letting Iron deliver the final blow. Thanks to Iron's heavy blow, Baruka's body lay lifeless under Izuku's feet. I told you, this is the end. Ring tilde. The dungeon boss has been defeated. You leveled up. You leveled up. After a sigh of relief, Izuku stared at the body of the boss he had just defeated. He took a step closer and said the command line. Arise. Ring tilde. You have successfully extracted the shadow. Please choose a name for this soldier. Baruka. Baruka LV-1. Rank Knight. Once again, an army of shadows was formed from the monsters he managed to kill. With this, Izuku's combat power has increased. If this continues, he will be able to complete B-rank gate or above. After dealing with the boss and dropping items, Izuku drew his shadow soldiers back into his shadow and approached Todoroki, who was sitting on the snow. Todoroki-san, are you okay? Apart from running out of mana, nothing else. That last blow consumed all my mana. Izuku opened his inventory and gave Todoroki a bottle of recovery potion. Should we get out of here? Since the boss has been killed, it won't be long before the gate will be closed. The other teams should also be finished by now. Okay. Izuku offered his hand to Todoroki. He then accepted it because he was too exhausted due to the previous fight. The two of them headed towards the entrance of the gate with Hunter's body on their backs. When they arrived at the entrance, another group had already gathered there. They also managed to find the missing Hunter and could only bring back his body. As expected, there were no survivors. Ikaru seized them and approached them. He then asked them a lot of questions. Izuku, Todoroki. Fortunately, you guys are fine. Are you guys probably encountering a dungeon boss during the search? I can feel strong mana coming from the direction you guys heading. Yes, but we managed to kill him somehow. May I know what kind of boss you guys are fighting? It was Hayeki. You guys fight that monster. Yes, it was a tough fight, but with the help of Todoroki-san, we won somehow. That's good. Now let's leave here before the gate closes. They all went out of the gate, and the gate was closed as soon as they came out. The bodies of the hunters were temporarily housed in body bags while waiting for the ambulance that would take them to the hospital. As a hunter, the risk of death will always loom as long as you enter the gate. It is not unusual for incidents like this to happen. After all, the first rule and what the hunters always emphasize is that anything can happen in the dungeon. Hunters' profession is different from heroes. Their job is to kill, and they are closer to death than they seem. All the hunters under the association already knew this fact. Still, they were willing to enter the gate, considering how much profit they gained after one raid. Some may enter to earn money, but some enter the gate because they feel the pleasure of killing monsters and seek the thrill of fighting. But of all those reasons, the most common reason is that the gate is where they are. They used to be nothing before becoming hunters, but after receiving Awaken, they could feel the power and wealth. Izuku is no different. Put aside the wealth. He's just looking for a place that will accept him as he is. It's hard to find a place that will accept your quirkless. It didn't take long for the ambulance to arrive and take Hunter's body to the hospital. After finishing the report and sending off the dead Hunter, Izuku goes to the dormitory, but he is stopped by Todoroki. He almost forgot to give him an explanation. I'll explain it as soon as we get to the dormitory. I'm so tired, please. It's fine. The two of them headed to the dormitory and stopped by the park in front of the dormitory to talk. Todoroki was sitting on one of the park benches while waiting for Izuku to buy a drink. Izuku came over with 2 cans of soda in his hand. He handed it to Todoroki and sat down beside him. So what do you want to know? Everything, starting from how you talked to the monster and how you got the Black Army. For the first question, I'm still not sure how it happened. For now, I'm just assuming that it might have something to do with the power I possess. For the next question, I think I'll have to tell you about how I gained power. Izuku started talking about how he was trapped in a double dungeon after being beaten by his sister and childhood friends, how he rolled around trying to survive in the dungeon, and then about the journey of how he became strong up until now. He didn't tell him about the system's existence since it was the main base of his power. Todoroki remained silent as Izuku spoke. He remained silent as if he was thinking about something. Izuku glanced at him to confirm his response. Well, it's more or less like that, to be honest. I'm not sure what exactly the source of my power is and why it chose me. I believe the answer will appear someday. What I can do now is to continue to become stronger, while understanding my strength little by little. You have a life like garbage there. I do not deny it. Being born in a family of heroes is very difficult when it comes to fame. Wait, your family is a hero. It was my father. My mother was just an ordinary person, but she had high self-esteem. My parents put my existence aside and only focused on my twin sister thanks to her strong quirk. My sister also hated my existence for being quirless. She always beat me with her friends during her time at school if she had the opportunity. I think compared to your life, my life is still better. At least my younger siblings don't hit me. You have siblings? A younger sister and two younger brothers, the youngest of your age if I'm not mistaken. It must be nice if you can get along well with each other. Well, not all my siblings get along well, at least not the youngest. Our father separated him from us and my other younger siblings, so that Dad could train him to be a hero the way he wanted. Wow, it must be hard for him. Is your father the kind of person who has high self-esteem or what? Unfortunately. What about your mother? Well, she got a lot of a hard time thanks to my father. I'm sorry for your mother. You know, after hearing your story, I realized one other fact about the heroes. What is it? They may succeed as heroes, but fail as a family. Todoroki was silent for a while and then began to laugh at Izuku's words. Izuku also laughed at this fact. Ha ha ha, you have a point. There was a moment of silence between the two of them. Because of awkwardness, Izuku then tries to break the atmosphere. There was a question that bothered him a long time ago. This is also a question for himself. Todoroki-san, do you hate your family? Todoroki thought for a moment before finally answering. No, just my father. I blame him for putting me in this state, also for destroying our family just because of his stupid ambitions. What about you? Seeing the way they treat you is not so surprising if you hate them. To be honest, I'm not so sure. Instead of hating, I'm more disappointed by how quickly they turn their back against me. I decided to give up my surname so I could move on from those sad days and live a new life. You said you were reported missing. Is your family ever trying to find you? They did, but gave up in the end. I thought they already regarded me as a dead person. And now I'm just a wandering ghost. Is it the same as you? Almost, except for the fact that I was dead. There was a big fire on the mountain where I used to train. I was waiting for my father to show him the development of my quirk. But no matter how long I waited for that day, he did not come. Just then suddenly a gate appeared out of nowhere and pulled me in. I was dragged to the gate and had to survive on my own. I used my quirk too much, causing it to become unstable until it started raging and almost burned the entire area after I got out. I lost my right arm in that accident and half of my face was burned. I was able to survive thanks to Sugimoto-san who got there on time. If he hadn't come that time, I don't know what I would be now. Is that how you became a hunter? Yeah. A thought suddenly flashed through Izuku's head, an extreme thought he had as the worst-case scenario, the thought of revenge. Todoroki-san, have you ever thought about revenge? Yes, I want to see that person fall. After all, I always blame him for every misfortune that befalls me. He burned his obsession with me until I ended up like this. My dream of becoming a hero also comes from him. The only thing he taught me anyway was how to start a fire. How are you? Never thought of revenge. Yes, I have, but then again, everything is still vague to me. I'm still not sure if it's necessary because I no longer have any feelings for them, not even anger or hatred. Izuku was leaning on a park bench, looking up at the moving clouds in the orange afternoon sky. He was lost in thought, reflecting on his family. But he then erased those thoughts. He just didn't want to care about what happened in the past. He looked at Todoroki. He knew that the two of them had some similarities since the first time they met. His gaze was similar to him. It contains the same hatred, although in different directions. Izuku is to himself for being weak, while Todoroki on his father who put him in this situation. Izuku assumed that he could make some kind of connection with him somehow. Todoroki often avoids this kind of conversation with others and simply leaves. He smiled that he could talk to Todoroki comfortably. It was nice for Izuku to have this kind of conversation with Todoroki, just like having friends, which was a rare thing for him. You know, it seems that we have more in common than we thought. Where did you get that conclusion from? Izuku then lifted the soda can and pointed it at Todoroki. Todoroki just glanced and then asked what this was about. For what is it? I just think that we should toast. What for? I don't know, for work had to try to survive in this crazy world. Todoroki smiled acceptingly. He then lifted his soda can as well. Cheers. A few days have passed since the Red Gate incident. Everything has returned to normal, and everyone has returned to their usual activities. The funeral was held in honor of the hunters who died in the incident in front of the senior officials of the Hunter Association. The hunters who were assigned as rescue teams that day were also present. The hunter's family has been informed by the agency that their family died in the line of duty as a government agent, and they will be compensated for their sacrifices for the family they left behind. Izuku is currently on vacation after 2 raids in the A and B rank dungeons that appeared in Kyoto. He still didn't use his job skills in front of others along the raid. He just didn't want to be bothered with the questions that would come later. Only Todoroki knew about his skills. Moreover, Izuku has become a B-rank hunter not long ago. Speaking of Todoroki, he and Izuku are now friends. After chatting with him that day, his personality became slightly more relaxed. Their raid team was surprised by the sudden change in Todoroki's personality. They even thought he was a monster pretending to be him, but after a long explanation, they finally understood. Izuku is currently doing his daily training in the morning as usual. He did a morning run around the dormitory, but couldn't focus because he had a lot of thoughts. After the Red Gate incident, there was no horrendous incident afterward, but the raid schedule has been improved recently to prevent the same incident. No wonder there are 2 raids in a day. Ring tilde. Alarm. Daily quest, preparing to become strong, has been completed. Push-ups 100-100. Sit-ups 100-100. Squats 100-100. Running 11/10 km. While Izuku was busy with his thoughts, he didn't realize that he had exceeded his daily quests and had left the dormitory area. He finally stopped after the notification that popped up. Oh, looks like I accidentally overdo it, but why is this still taking notes when I have completed the quest? Will this be a hidden quest? Let's make sure. But where am I? After finding his way back to the dormitory while doing his daily quest twice as much as usual, a notification finally appeared in front of him. As Izuku guessed, there was a hidden quest from the daily quest. The reward he gets is still the same as the daily quest reward, but there's an addition to the random box. He has to choose between Blessed Random Box or Cursed Random Box. Izuku chose the Blessed Random Box, which contains the S-ranked item. Ring tilde. You have obtained the Demon Castle Key. Item Demon Castle Key. Item class S. Type Key. A key that allows you to enter the Dungeon Demon Castle. Can be used in Tokyo Tower. S-rank item. This is the second time I have gotten an S-rank item aside from Igris's helmet. I will check it out later. For the time being, I need breakfast. After finishing some preparations, Izuku finally arrived at Tokyo Tower. He wasn't wearing his raid gear, but only wearing a hoodie, training pants, and shoes. He used stealth skills to hide his presence. It would be suspicious to see a 9-year-old wandering around unattended, especially at this hour. He pushed the key forward, the red energy along with the flash of red lightning swirling around the key that only he could see. The room began to distort, and a gap appeared that opened the gate to the Dungeon Demon Castle. Izuku walked in. The environment around turned into a burning city. In front of one of the buildings sat a 3-headed dog monster whose body was almost as big as a house. Hell's gatekeeper Cerberus. Looking at the monster, he knew it wouldn't be easy. His survival rate was low just by looking at the first monster that he encountered. Since it is an S-rank dungeon, the difficulty is high. This is the first time Izuku has entered the S-rank gate, which is a good opportunity to test his limit as well as to level up. He stepped forward ready to face his enemy. Change title. Ring tilde. Title Wolf Slayer. Izuku jumped and aimed at Cerberus' feet, but his attack did not seem to have a significant effect on that monster. Izuku's attack seemed to anger the gatekeeper. Alarm. Hell's gatekeeper Cerberus uses skill, Wrath. Alarm. Wrath will last for 3 minutes. Cerberus statistics will be doubled. Thanks to the activated skills, Cerberus's attack speed increased a lot. He ignored all the pain and only focused on attacking. Izuku manages to avoid being bitten by the beast. Okay, it's just warm up. He immediately activated the sprint skill and attacked the monster. Because Cerberus couldn't feel anything, his attack did not slow it down at all despite receiving fatal injuries. Izuku continued to attack it. He kept aiming at Cerberus's vital points that left several holes and many scratches on its body. Ring tilde. Alarm. You have killed Hell's gatekeeper Cerberus. You leveled up. You leveled up. You leveled up. Alarm. You have obtained Warden's Necklace. You have obtained Castle Door Key. You have obtained Cerberus's Fang. Item Warden's Necklace. Item Class A. Type Necklace. Agility 20, Sense 20. Item Castle Door Key. Item Class A. Type Key. Key that can open the gate of the demon castle, obtained by killing the guards. Item Cerberus's Fang. Item Class None. Type Fang Material. That can be obtained by defeating Cerberus. After a tough fight, Cerberus was finally defeated, and the drop items were also as expected. Behind where Cerberus stood was a door with intricately carved decorations. After resting for a while recovering his mana and health, Izuku went straight to the door. Behind the door is a hallway decorated with statues of demons on both sides along the hallway. The hallway itself is not very long with a door similar to the entrance at the end. Izuku couldn't feel the presence of monsters when he arrived inside, but a quest notification appeared in front of him. Ring tilde. A quest has arrived. Quest. Normal quest, collect demons' souls, part 1. Hunt demons and collect their souls for special rewards. Quest completion requirements. Minus 10,000 demon souls. Reward S. 1 item of your choosing. 2 stats bonus 20. 3 hidden rewards. The quest. It's been a while since I received a quest like this. Izuku walked down the hallway until he reached another door at the end of the hallway. He opened the door indicating what was on the other side of that door. He was quite surprised by the scene in front of him. A city was devoured in flames, destroying buildings and ruins scattered around it. He looked around and realized that this was the city that he was familiar with. This dungeon is a replica of the burning city of Tokyo. Field-type dungeon. Is this dungeon rebuilding the entire content of Tokyo? I didn't expect it to be a field-type dungeon. But after seeing the content of the quest, it is impossible to complete it in just one day. If I rush it, it may take a week to complete. Well, since I'm here, I should at least try to accomplish it. Arise. A shadow army formed behind Izuku's back. He didn't mean to hold back in the first place. Leading his knights, Izuku charged forward, killing every demon he encountered along with his army. Notifications kept popping up endlessly as he and his army slaughtered demons in the dungeons. There is even an exp level earned among the notifications that appear. He smiled throughout the battle, looking at the many notices in front of him. Izuku then quickened his pace. From now on it is a battle against time. He can't waste a single precious second here. After 4 hours of unilateral slaughter, Izuku ascends to the next floor using the pass he obtains after killing a certain demon. Item. Entry permit. Item class type. Permission to enter the next floor in the demon castle. Can be used in the floor movement magic circle on the first floor. After arriving on the second floor, Izuku restarted the unilateral slaughter of the demons on that floor. Each floor of the Devil's Castle dungeon is made of a different world. Monsters holding the entry permit will randomly appear on each floor, and you can only proceed to the next floor with an entry permit. If this huge tower has 100 floors, it can be said that there are 100 different worlds in this tower. Second floor. 3 RD floor. 4 TH floor, 27th floor. As time passed, Izuku climbed from one floor to the next at a terrifying speed. The souls he has collected so far total 2,116 souls. He still got a long way to go. Collected demon souls, 2,116 10000. At first, when Izuku got the key, he was worried that this place would be similar to the S-rank dungeon that he often read about in the raid records belonging to the association. But the worry gradually disappeared, and the battle became boring. He decided to stop here since it was difficult to predict the time inside the dungeon, and he couldn't check it because the electronic device didn't work inside the dungeon. When he came out of the dungeon, the sky was already dark. There was no one around, and there was only himself. He checked his mobile phone, and it was already 2 a.m. He sighed as he walked home. There was no train or bus left at this hour. The only option was to take a taxi or walk. Izuku chose to take a taxi since there will be a raid scheduled today. It took a while, but he finally got a taxi. After showing the address of the dormitory, then they headed to their destination. Or so he thought. At first, Izuku didn't pay much attention to it, but as the taxi drove, the direction began to deviate from its original destination. Izuku tries to talk to the driver, but he ignores him, claiming that they are on the right track and speeding up his taxi even more. Just as Izuku wasn't paying attention, sleeping gas billowed from inside the cab. Ring tilde. Alarm. Harmful substances have been detected. Buff, the effect of cure poison cures you. 3, 2, 1. Cure poisons has been completed. What? What? Looking at the notice that appeared in front of him, Izuku couldn't help but surprise. Knowing that something was wrong, he decided to come into play temporarily by pretending to be unconscious before deciding what to do next. He secretly sent a message and his location to the police just in case something bad happened. After driving for nearly 20 minutes, they arrive at an empty warehouse. The taxi driver checked Izuku on whether he was conscious or not and took him into the warehouse. Izuku could feel some other human presence from inside the warehouse. Izuku was then placed in a dusty storage room containing several wooden boxes arranged in such a way. The taxi driver left him with several people who were already been captive in the room with their hands tied. He opened his eyes as soon as he didn't feel the threatening presence around him. He got up and looked around. There were 5 people besides himself, 2 adult women and 3 children. They looked at him with pitying gazes for having the same fate as them. One of the women looked him and tried to talk to him. "Hey kid, are you okay?" "I'm fine, but where are we?" "I don't know, I'm going to go home. I just fell asleep for a while in the taxi, and when I woke up I was here. It seemed that we had been kidnapped." "I can see that." He then untied his knot and then helped the others. The woman was surprised by how quickly Izuku untied his tie and how calm he was in this situation. She then looked at him and asked, "How can you do that? Don't you feel scared?" Izuku smiled at her and then replied, "I'm just well trained." After hearing Izuku's ambiguous answer, she narrowed her eyes but decided to ignore it. She and other women gathered the children who were still crying and tried to calm them down. Izuku looked at them and began to think how he should get them out of here. Izuku then looked around the room. The room itself was closed and very stuffy. There was only one way in and out. He could feel some presence behind the door. 5 in total, he could have beaten them easily. Although he rarely fights humans, he still knows how to deal with them. He had already sent a message to the police about the location. It was only a matter of time before they got here. The remaining question is whether he should deal with them while protecting the people behind him or just sit and wait here, buying time until the police arrive. He could escape here easily, but he couldn't leave these people. Besides, there are only women and children here. He had considered using his shadow soldiers but risked exposing his abilities that he wanted to keep secret for the time being until he could fully understand it. Also, if he uses his skills, the police will not let him go easily, and his actions will be regarded as a violation of the rules for using his quirk for personal gain. He was so busy mumbling that he didn't notice that the others were giving him a strange look. One of the women decided to step up and pat him on the shoulder to bring him back to reality. "Are you okay there?" Izuku was a little surprised. He didn't realize that he was doing his habit in this situation. I'm fine. Looks like I did my habit unconsciously, sorry." He scratched the back of his head because of the habit he showed unconsciously. The woman nodded in response to Izuku's answer. "So what are we doing now?" Another woman holding the children spoke up. Izuku set his sights on him and began to answer. "I have already contacted the police and sent the location to them. They should have arrived here at any moment, but the problem is how to prevent the villains from leaving as soon as the police arrive." "Are you crazy? You are going to fight with them." "Not fighting, just trying to buy time until the police get here." While they were still arguing, the sound of the doorknob opening shocked everyone in the room. The moment the door was opened, Izuku knew that this would not end well. The door opened. A man entered the room and saw the people inside had been freed from their ties. Children were holding on to one of the women, and the other was discussing with a green-haired boy. He then gathered his comrades, each of them carrying a weapon. It makes the children begin to panic and cry. The woman tried her best to calm them down, but it was in vain because they were too scared. The villains who entered first were irritated by the sound of the children's crying. He pointed the gun he was carrying at them and began to threaten them. "Shut up, you useless brat, shut up or I'll shoot you." The woman felt responsible. She stepped forward and hid Izuku behind her back. She felt that she couldn't leave a child to face all this alone no matter how brave or calm he was. In her eyes, he was just a child that she had to protect. Izuku widened his eyes after seeing the woman's actions. He was surprised because a stranger is willing to protect him. He rarely got protection before, not even from his parents. He has always depended on himself and rarely accepts the help of others. That's why he had to become stronger to do that. He couldn't help but smile. It's not a bad feeling to have someone to protect you. He then looked at the villains who kidnapped them, judging from the equipment and posture. They were almost equivalent to D-rank hunters. Besides, it seemed that they already had fighting experience. It will take a while, but it is not difficult to beat them. The problem is how to explain it afterward. Izuku sighed and decided to take a more subtle approach. He quietly opened the phone that he had stored in his inventory and started recording every conversation they had. Izuku was about to open his mouth, but the woman who was protecting him interrupted him first. "Who are you? Why are you kidnapping us?" The villain looked at her, and they started laughing, as if the woman was asking stupid questions. "Why should I answer that stupid question of yours? In a moment you will all be sold on the other side of the ocean as slaves. So pray while you can, because no one will save you, neither the police nor those useless heroes." "You?" The woman was about to curse the villain, but Izuku held back her hand. Izuku then whispered to her to cooperate with the villains by following their words for a while until the police arrived. She then nodded in accepting Izuku's suggestion. The villains saw this and smiled with satisfaction at the sight of them obeying. He looked at the woman with a lustful look. He then licked his lips as he looked at her up and down. "Well, I guess it's okay if the goods have a little damage." The woman suddenly gasped and felt cold all over her spine. She looked at the villain with a look of contempt. She gritted her teeth and clenched her fists tightly. Izuku realized this was going to be the worst. Even so, he was still trying to restrain himself. But the woman can't help being angry. The villain grabbed her hand and pulled her closer. They laughed as they watched the woman struggling to get her hand off. Izuku couldn't stand it anymore and threw a punch right in the villain's face, making him fly out of the room. Everyone in the room was shocked to see this. A child was able to send an adult man fly with just one punch. The other villains came back to their senses and immediately caught up with their boss, who was kicked out of the room. The villain boss was lying on the floor with a broken nose and blood splattered on his face and clothes. He groaned as he struggled to get up. "Boss, are you all right?" His subordinates surrounded him to see if their boss was okay. The villain boss was furious and immediately ordered his subordinates to capture Izuku and others. "What are you doing, you BSDRD? Quickly catch that boy." The women and children increased their alertness and held each other's hands. The woman who had been protecting Izuku before hardened her face, feeling the danger approaching. Feeling responsible for the situation that befell them, Izuku decided to come forward to face the villains alone. The woman prevented him from moving forward, but Izuku let go of her hand and nodded his head, telling her to believe in him. Izuku stepped up to deal with them. His only purpose was to protect them. Izuku rushed to the villains, defeating them one by one. They couldn't keep up with his movements and just stood there unable to do anything. The villain's boss gets even angrier when he sees his subordinates beaten without being able to put up a fight. He looked around. His eyes caught a group of children hugging each other with a woman holding them. He then rushed towards one of the kids, got rid of the woman holding them, and caught one of them. "Hey, what are you doing? Let him go." "Shut up, you BTCH." Hearing the sound from behind, Izuku looked back to see the villain boss holding a little boy in his arms. Izuku tried to approach them but stopped halfway through because the villain boss pointed a knife at the child's neck. "Don't dare to move, or I kill this boy." Izuku became doubtful whether he should attack or not. He didn't want the child to be injured. The villain smiled at Izuku's hesitation. He pulled the child away from them. "Don't come close. Your green hair, raise your hand and come here quickly before I slice this boy's neck." The villain boss pointed at Izuku with a gun in his left hand, telling him to come slowly. Izuku followed his orders, slowly approaching the boss with his hands raised in the air. The grinning villain boss threw the child to Izuku. Izuku reflexively caught the child and hugged him. An electronic voice sounded and an emergency quest suddenly appeared in front of him. Ring tilde. An emergency search has been activated. Emergency quest annihilation. Some individuals have murderous intent toward the player at close range. Kill them and ensure your safety. If this quest is not completed, your heart will stop. Number of individuals killed, 1. Number of individuals killed, 0. Izuku widened his eyes as he looked at the contents of the quest. Time suddenly seemed to slow down, his head filled with the question, why? The system told him to kill with the guarantee of his own life. He may have seen countless deaths and has killed countless monsters, but he has never once killed a human being. For Hunter, the situation of killing or being killed is common. Hunters who enter the dungeon continue to do this to survive in the dungeon. Izuku also experienced the same thing. He kept killing many monsters to become strong with the help of the system. He knew that one day he might also kill humans. He had imagined this so many times that sometimes doubts arose in his heart. Izuku realized that the system was using him for some reason, so he decided that he would also use the system. No. He would devour the system. Feeling the flow of time returning to normal, his head suddenly became empty, and the light disappeared from his eyes. He released his grip on the child in his protection, picked up the wooden fragments next to him, then turned around and stabbed the villain boss in the neck. Blood splattered from the stab wounds left by Izuku, splattering on his clothes, face, and hands. Izuku's expression darkened. He dropped the wood he was holding and looked at blood-stained his hands. In the end, what I'm afraid the most has finally happened. Ring tilde. You have completed the emergency quest extermination. Quest. Rewards. Choose your reward. You can choose from the rewards below. Reward 1, recovery. Reward status 2, stat points +5. Reward 3, skill, bloodlust will. Do you receive your reward? Accept refuse. Skill Bloodlust LV, 1. Active skill, 100 mana using. Powerful energy. The selected target is placed in a state of fear for 1 minute. Multiple targets to choose from. Fear effect, all stats -50%. In the end, I killed a man. All who saw the scene were shocked. A child was able to kill a man without blinking. The child who was near Izuku started crying loudly. He was terrified and ran away from Izuku toward the woman who was with Izuku before. The woman immediately hugged the child, trying to calm him down. She looked at Izuku in horror, then took a step back when their eyes met. Izuku turned his face away and turned his back to them. I'll find a rope to tie up other villains. Can you help calm down the children? The police will be here soon, so you will be fine. He stared at the body of the villain boss, looking at his expression of death. Izuku recalled what kind of world he was living in. He was once again reminded that only the strong could survive, and the weak would be eliminated. He thanked him secretly for reminding him and swore to never forget this. Izuku then walked away looking for a leash but was stopped by the woman. W8, what about you? Zai. Before he could finish his words, the sound of sirens along with the blue-red light of the police car came from the front of the building. Policemen in heavily armed black uniforms broke in. They immediately caught the villains who were lying on the floor and secured the victims. A policeman approaches Izuku, but stops in shock at the sight of the villain boss's body lying lifeless in blood and Izuku's bloody appearance. He hesitated for a moment, but immediately shook his head and walked toward Izuku. Hey, are you all right? Izuku just nodded weakly even though his hands were tightly clenched into fists. Let's take you to a safe place. Izuku just obeyed, following the police out of the building. Outside the building, there were several policemen standing guard with ambulances to carry the injured. Izuku was taken to the ambulance to check his condition. After making sure he was okay, he was allowed to leave. But when he was about to head to the side, Izuku was stopped by one of the policemen. Hey, you. Izuku looked at him. He saw two people approaching him after talking to the woman who had been protecting him earlier. One is a man with short black hair, and the other is a cat man. Can we talk for a bit? Yes. I just talked to the woman. She said you were the one who called the police here. Can you follow us to the police station for further reports? Sure. Izuku has only given a dry answer since the beginning. He followed the police to the police station without saying a word. He remained silent until they arrived at the office. Izuku was asked to wait in the waiting room while the police analyzed the footage on Izuku's phone. Hey kid, do you have a guardian to call? Izuku was silent for a while, thinking about who to contact. He could have contacted Sugimoto, but he had helped Izuku too much. Although Sugimoto is technically his guardian, Izuku doesn't want to disturb him any further. He becomes hesitant to contact him or not. What's the matter? Do you hesitate to contact your guardians? Izuku just glanced at him silently and then nodded slowly. The police knew what was going on in Izuku's head. He only advised him to contact his guardian, promising that he would burden him. Izuku just obeyed and decided to contact Sugimoto. After waiting for about 15 minutes, Sugimoto finally arrived at the police station and approached Izuku, who was in the waiting room. "You really can't sit still, right? I'm sorry for the trouble I caused." "It's okay, besides, how could you be kidnapped in the first place?" "Sorry, I guess I'm just too careless when going out by myself." "Okay, just don't do that anymore." "Yes, I'm sorry." Sugimoto then patted his head to say that it was okay. Outside the lounge, the police were waiting and then knocked on the door to ask Izuku a few questions. "Excuse me, can I talk to the child for a while?" Sugimoto looked at Izuku. Izuku then nodded in agreement. The police then entered the room and Sugimoto left, leaving room for the police to talk to Izuku. "Hello, your name is Izuku, right? My name is Tsukachi Naomasa. Can you cooperate and answer some of my questions?" "Yes." "Then I'll start." The interrogation lasts about an hour. Tsukachi asked Izuku many questions regarding his personal information and about what happened before and during the kidnapping. Izuku just explained what was necessary and ignored the unimportant information. He only explained in a dry tone because he still felt bitter after taking someone's life. Tsukachi noticed this during his conversation with Izuku. He felt sorry for him for being forced to do that because of his circumstances, but he didn't believe a 9-year-old child could kill an adult without blinking. Even so, Tsukachi still has to do something about him. He can't let it go so easily. It would be against the laws of society. He must also take care of this child, ensure that his psychology is okay, and prevent him from becoming a villain in the future. Tsukachi also had a conversation with Izuku's guardian. He was one of the government agents, and it turned out that they had some circumstances that they could not explain. He tried to dig, but the information was somehow blocked by the top. After requesting evidence and contacts belonging to Izuku and Sugimoto, he let them go home under 4 months' house arrest sentence for Izuku and an investigation for Sugimoto. He can't give any more punishment in the future because he is still a child, and he is still protected by the law. Tsukachi can only give him detention. For the time being, Izuku's case will be reprocessed through trial or after an order from the leader. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share, and do comments.